Paul Finebaum here. In the South, we love football and Crystal. The Hot Off the Grill Crystal Burger is the perfect complement to any tailgate. Take a steamer pack of 24 Crystals to your tailgate. Why didn't I think of that? Plus, Crystal knows you love wings. Barbecue or buffalo wings, Crystal is the stop for all of your cravings this fall. Text Paul, that is P-A-U-L, to 37793, and Crystal will hook you up with 2 free Crystals. Nobody does football like the South, and nobody does tailgates like Crystal. And we say hello to you on a Friday afternoon. We hope all is well wherever you are, and hope you haven't overwhelmed yourself with Christmas shopping. We're here for the next 4 hours, and we hope you will stick around with us because we have a lot to do and a lot of headlines and a lot of news to share with you. Also, a lot of phone calls. College football's bowl season gets underway. Yep, it's here. Whether you're ready for it or not, tomorrow, bowl games all day and into the evening. Beginning with the Celebration Bowl, we'll go over the entire list. Usual first weekend of bowl games, and there it is, Celebration Bowl. That is the first one on the list. And then just kind of work your way through. Troy versus North Texas after that, Western Kentucky and Georgia State. Boise and Oregon, most people think that's probably the best game of the day, although Grambling, North Carolina A&T is pretty good. Marshall and Colorado State. Middle and Arkansas State. Working your way through the day. Final game starts at 8 p.m., and that is in the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl. I believe that game is in Montgomery, Alabama. Meanwhile, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, it earned $45 million on Thursday. That would be a great take for most movies,
but not that
period. That's the first night.
Folding money.
Good to hear. Another Disney sensation. And looks like at least part of the movie has come to us. Brams, what happened to your costume?
It got lost in the mail. I don't know what happened.
Disney can only afford one costume?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jabba the Hutt's not in this movie, so.
Is that Hayes over there, or is that Kubiak? I can't tell. Oh, I forgot. It's Friday. Kubiak doesn't work on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that made
Sorry,
for you.
Didn't mean my bad.
I will try to stay in
Shouldn't I
character
have
all
known
day.
that?
You should have.
See, I've been gone for I've been gone on Friday since August. I forgot. The Chosen One has Fridays off. Is that correct, guys?
That is correct, Paul.
Okay.
Coobs has the dream schedule.
That's a pretty good gig, working 4 days a week. Where do you find one of those?
He doesn't do anything when he's here.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't rip on him. Too many other people have already beaten us to it. Lexington Herald leader, new December signing period was supposed to make things easier, but many are confused, and that's something we were talking about during our 2 o'clock show. We had Chad Morris on. We'll share some of that with you a little bit later on, but he is not happy. He's a coach trying to find the staff and figure things out, and I don't think when signing day gets here on Wednesday, you're going to hear too many coaches praising it. Anyway, we welcome you back. We'll get your phone calls in a moment at 855-242-7285. What's the old saying? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
That's it.
Everywhere you go. Yeah, it is. Let's see. We'll be here all next week, by the way. But when we sign off here next Friday afternoon, the Christmas weekend will have arrived. Something tells me it will have arrived before we sign off, Randy, wouldn't you say?
I
would say next Friday not going to be one of the heavy work days of the year. But we will be here because we have nowhere else to go. Why don't we go to the phones here at 855-242-7285. That will be something that we spend time with. We have a number of guests as well. I mentioned Chad Morris was with us earlier. We'll recap some of that for you a little bit later on for those folks listening on radio in Arkansas and everywhere else who are interested in what the new coach has to say. Let's see what's on the line. And Sean starts us off in Canada. Sean, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much. I just recently saw the podcast numbers, Paul, and congratulations to you and the staff. The show is just it's a rocket. So congratulations.
Thank you. I haven't actually seen
and
some
the voice.
Thank John Hayes. He's the podcast maestro.
Oh well, congratulations, John.
Oh, Canada.
Paul, the reason for my call today is twofold. One, I just wanted a quick call and comment from you on the recent comments by the young UCF running back talking a little smack to Auburn. He said they might be in for a rude awakening. I would counter that by saying I think UCF is in for a rude awakening when Auburn steps on the field. They haven't played a defense like Auburn all year, and I feel that that game's not going to be close. I'm not sure how you
listen,
feel.
Sean, when you face Georgia's defense and LSU's defense and Alabama's defense, and again, he was talking about the SEC. Auburn's also run into Clemson out of the SEC. I mean, that is a patently stupid comment. And it's one thing if it was misinterpreted, but I just got through watching the video of that about 30 minutes ago, and I mean, it was intentional. I mean, he meant to say that to that reporter, so he can live with the consequences.
You're right, Mr. Finebaum, and ultimately I think he will because I just don't see UCF standing of any chance against that defense. And my secondary call, Paul, is one of our great callers, Jim from Tuscaloosa, must be so happy that 2017 is almost over because it's been one drag out curb stomp after another in the past 6 weeks. First it was Laura, took him to the woodshed.
She did she ever.
And if that wasn't enough, he got up and lo and behold, Coach Kiffin just decided to take him out.
I think the worst beatdown was Lane Kiffin, don't you?
I think so, too.
I mean, and the part of that, because Laura just kept it on facts. She doesn't get into personal attacks.
Lane got personal.
But Kiffin just, waylaid the guy.
Oh, my God. It reminded me of that old Terminator movie, Paul, where Arnold walks in and says, "Give me your clothes, your keys to your motorcycle, and all your money." And the guy, in a bar room, he's laughing it off, and then all of a sudden, it becomes a barroom ball, and all of a sudden we see Coach Kiffin just takes Jim and puts him on that curb and doesn't let up.
Is that where the phrase "curb stomp" came from?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, I just.
But
I've always wondered. It's one thing.
He,
I mean, they're different variables in terms of behind the woodshed, but curb stomp. Does that mean you're out on the curb and just getting stomped on?
Yeah, that's pretty graphic.
I mean, is there something worse than a curb stomping?
I don't think so. Not to my.
The country boy whipping is.
Ass whooping.
I mean, I've had country boys explain to me that one. That's not pretty.
No, but I don't think anything's as bad as a curb stomp.
Well, but that's the city version. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it? I think. I'm from the city. I'm not a country boy, but I think the city curb stomping has more danger. I think. Long term.
Yeah. But
I think you can recover maybe in a month or two from a country boy. There's a chance you're not going to recover from a curb stomping. You may be part of the curb if you're not careful.
No, that's true. But on a footnote on Jim, Paul, I know you're a learned individual, and I just wanted to ask you: do you see a connection between Jim and Willie Loman from Death of a Salesman?
Oh my goodness! One of the Arthur Miller play, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Ever seen Death of a Salesman? I don't. Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say he was overly educated, but he was more, I think, cultured.
Yes, and as opposed to say another literary character, I find Jim to have a lot in common with, and that's Don Quixote.
Don Quixote?
Yes. Although
are we talking Man of La Mancha here?
Yeah. Although in Jim's case, he doesn't really have a
You've just dropped two of my favorite.
Play off of.
It's one of my favorite books of all time.
Oh, me too. I loved it as I read it when I was 12, Paul, and I've tried to find every
Montes
special edition I could.
Wow.
It's a fantastic read, and
when I was a kid, my parents took me to see that play. I've been humming The Impossible Dream ever since.
Well, speaking of which, there's a great line in that novel, and I'll leave you with this, Paul. In order to attain the impossible, one must attempt the absurd. And thank you very much for Jim. Merry Christmas to you, Paul, and the staff. Happy New Year, and I hope to call you in the new year.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you. We appreciate it. We are up against a break here on going down great literature for 100, Alex. We'll take a break. 855-242-7285 is the number. Jason Butt will join us. He's with the Macon Telegraph. Matt Jones. Been a while since we talked to Matt. Teddy Greenstein from the Chicago Tribune, great writer there. And Chad Morris will also join us, the Arkansas coach. We will be right back.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Welcome back here on a Friday afternoon. Let's get some more phone calls at 855-242-7285. And Matt is in San Antonio. Matt, have you seen the Star Wars movie yet?
I used to watch them when I was little, when I was 11 or 12.
Yeah, well, you can still see it when you're growing. I mean, how old are you, Matt?
I'm going on 31.
You're still pretty young. I mean, come on.
I kind of also used to watch Star Trek a lot.
Okay, I hear it. That was pretty cool. I like that one.
Like, I used to watch every Star Trek show and every movie.
Beam me up.
Beam me up, Scotty.
I just did.
I wanted to ask you a question, Paul.
What's that, Matt?
How do you think A&M's going to do in this recruiting class on National Signing Day? I have a feeling they're going to get 24 or 26 commitments.
I think they're going to do pretty well.
And my last two questions for you, Paul, then I'll let you go, is who do you think the quarterback's going to be for A&M next year? I think it's probably going to be Starkel Amon.
I'm going Starkel.
Okay. I guess my last question for you, Paul, is I think they're going to go 9-3 or maybe 8-3 next year.
Listen, I haven't really given it much thought, Matt, but I'll certainly think about that. Daniel is up next. Daniel, go right ahead.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
We are doing great.
Hey, so I'm curious about one of the Alabama playoff game. With the loss of Shantian Hamilton and with Hootie Jones being out, how big of a disadvantage do you think that puts Alabama at?
Well, I mean, listen, I think you have to compare that to what? I mean, where Alabama was against Auburn, maybe not Auburn, but maybe coming down the stretch against Mississippi State, they were in slightly better shape against Auburn versus where they'll be. I mean, yeah, any great player out is difficult, but on the other hand, they're getting so many back. It's just a matter of how they fit in. I think Alabama is going to be in really good shape in this game compared to the second half of the season.
Okay. Appreciate it, Paul.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the call. Let's continue. Chris is next up in Florida. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a favor to ask, and then I'm going to get to my why I called.
Okay.
Favor. The guy who called in talking about Notre Dame yesterday and Brandon Wingbush and his throwing motion and all this stuff, can you make a copy of that? Send it down to Guantanamo Bay. Have them put it on a closed loop. And we will have all those guys, if they still know anything, they will give it up in 15 minutes or less, I promise. But now, here's why I called. I wanted to talk Jeremy Pruitt. Let's just first go at his history. We know he started out, he was a high school coach. He goes to Alabama. He's a defensive backs coach, does a great job there. And Jimbo Fisher hires him at Florida State. First time he's a defensive coordinator in college football. does a great job. It helps him win a national championship. And here's an interesting one. His first recruit was flipping a guy, Jalen Ramsey, from Brentwood, Tennessee, and he's Tennessee's coach now. So he does have some, Tennessee roots or Tennessee recruiting chops a little bit. But what does he do at Florida State besides win a national championship? Off the field, his fiance, current wife, finds out he's running around with some of the codes on campus.
Hold on a second. Oh, hey, stop, Chris.
Yes.
I mean, let me make sure I understand what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
You're talking about what? You're talking about exactly what?
I'm talking about Jeremy Pruitt. Well, I guess what I'm getting to is that he's questionable in the character department. And, when you have a guy like that,
hold on a second.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable talking about his character because I don't really know him that well. And my question to you is, do you know him that well?
Well,
when you're throwing out information like you're throwing out, what is that based on?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Did you hear the rumors about him running around with girls in Tallahassee?
I have never heard anything about Jeremy Pruitt.
Did you hear rumors about him at Georgia?
I don't want you to repeat rumors because, first of all, I can make up a rumor about anyone, and that's not really fair. I don't, listen, in my business, you hear a lot of things. I've never heard anything about Jeremy Pruitt.
Did you know that Kirby Smart didn't want to keep him on staff at Georgia?
Well, my understanding is he didn't want to keep him on staff because he was going to hire and bring Mel Tucker over from Alabama.
Well, but he had worked with Jeremy Pruitt. He knows he's a brilliant.
Well, yeah, he had,
guy.
hey, hold on a second. Slow down, Chris. Mel Tucker had worked directly under Kirby Smart at Alabama. Didn't that make more sense to continue to move on?
And by the way, Kirby and Jeremy Pruitt worked together too, though.
Well, but they weren't working together when Kirby got the job.
No, they weren't. You're right about that.
And listen, I don't exactly know.
Mark Richt didn't want him at Miami either when he went to Miami, and now he made a great hire in Manny Diaz. But I guess what I'm wondering is that some of these guys that have worked with him, because there are reports that he was divisive at Georgia.
Well, no, there were points. Yeah, I mean, I knew that. There was a lot about that.
There was even reports that he was talking to boosters, saying things he shouldn't have been saying to boosters at Georgia.
Chris,
I think
listen, you're quoting a lot of stuff, and I don't know what your source is, and that's what concerns me about this conversation.
Right.
It was well known that Jeremy Pruitt clashed with Mark Richt. It was well known that he was on his way out there, and ultimately Mark Richt got fired, and Jeremy Pruitt went back to Alabama. But all this other stuff, I don't know what it has to do with anything.
Well, here's what I really, I was trying to give some background to what I was going to say is that when you have a guy who, in my opinion, is of questionable, his judgment can be questionable.
Hey, Chris,
stop,
please. Because, I mean, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know who you are. I mean, if you want to tell me your name, if you want to quote sources, but you're just throwing a bunch of stuff up against the wall right now because you may or may not be happy with this decision. What fan base do you support?
Well, I'm a Florida State fan, and that's where I get the Florida State information. My family is I've got family in Tallahassee. I follow the program really well, and that was kind of one of those things that just everybody knew, but nobody.
Let me tell you this, okay, Chris. Let me tell you this. I know Jeremy Pruitt. I don't claim to know him that well, but I do know him, and I've met his wife, and I just don't like the idea of some fan calling in with stuff that he's heard. Because, and by the way, I wouldn't care if you had a source. Frankly, it doesn't matter to me that you've heard some rumor about someone, because I could drop rumors on every head coach and every assistant coach that we talk about here every day, but that doesn't make it fair, especially at a time in this country when there are so many allegations being tossed around. Many of the allegations, by the way, are 100% true, but those are serious allegations. I've never heard anything remotely serious connected to this individual, and I'm not even going to mention his name anymore. And I just think it's incredibly unfair for you just to be tossing this stuff around like you know what you're talking about. And I'm not insinuating anybody here does or doesn't. I don't know. And if we don't know, let's find another forum. If you want to, go out and have a few beers with your buddies and talk about things you think you know, then welcome to it. But I feel I have a difficult time letting you do that on a show that's heard on radio and television in 50 states and all over the world. So I just, again, it really bothers me that you would do that, but that's fine. Do whatever you want. Let's take a short break. We are coming back with much, much more. Jason Butt will join us shortly. Okay, welcome back. We are about to be joined by Jason Butt, who is a sports writer. He's also an author. His latest, The Georgia Bulldogs Fans Bucket List. Was there ever a good time to bring this book out or what? Forward by my good friend Jim Donnan. So Jason, of course, is a reporter for the Macon Telegraph. And Jason, thank you very much. Good afternoon. So was this? I guess this book was conceived. This book came out earlier in the year. Is that correct? So you just didn't do this for the national championship run.
Correct. Yeah, actually, it was published back in September. Obviously, makes for a great holiday gift. Given the time of year it is now. But with Georgia heading to the playoff, I mean, it's definitely much more relevant than it otherwise would be.
Yeah, hard to imagine a sports writer would actually come up with a gimmick book around Christmas time, having once done that for a couple of years. That's actually a great idea. Jason, let's talk about it because, the Georgia Bulldogs are on the run of many people's lives, haven't played for a national championship since really the early 80s. They won it in 80, but they played for it, I think, in 82 as well. Have had a couple of close calls. So bucket list. Go through the bucket list for us and tell us what fans need to know.
Absolutely. So when it comes to Athens on game days, in the book it details what you need to do the night before the game, the day of the game, the morning, all the rituals, the tailgating festivities that anyone can take part in, where to go, who to see, visit the dog walk, the pregame walk going into Sanford Stadium. And then obviously there's a lot of history in there about this team, about why fans would want to celebrate this program that's been around since 1892. A lot of information packed in there. Definitely stuff you want to knock off, whether it's visiting Jacksonville for a Georgia-Florida game, whether it's being in town for a big-time SEC rival, whether it's going to Atlanta for a Georgia Tech game, whether it's other little various stops that the average fan might not be familiar with.
Yeah, I've been to 2 games in Athens this year. I wish I had this. Wish I'd had this book before then. But anyway, but Friday night in Athens is insanity, as you well know. So it would be very helpful to have a primer. Let me ask you about this Georgia team as we get closer to January 1. There have been some off the field incidences. It seems that you tell me that at least some of them have been cleared up. What's going on off the field for the Dogs?
Right. Natrez Patrick, inside linebacker, he got his third arrest for marijuana-related issues shortly after the SEC championship game. That charge was thrown out by a Barrow County probate court. Just when it came to possession, he didn't fit the criteria, wasn't his car, wasn't on his person. Therefore, he's not being formally charged. Now, in the past, Georgia has, especially when Mark Richt was the head coach, if you were given a citation by law enforcement, that was considered a failed drug test. Now, that doesn't appear to be the case now that Kirby Smart's the head coach, because they've been waiting patiently for a lot of information to come out here. And given the fact that he hasn't been dismissed, given the fact that there's been no announcement made, I would be willing to believe right now that he's going to be good to go for this Rose Bowl. That's just a prediction at this time. I would think if he was not going to be ready to play, that he would have been kicked off the team by this point.
Beyond that, and certainly those things seem like they're clearing up, talk a little bit about the health of this team as they get ready for one of the most important games in recent Georgia history.
I don't know if there's a team that's been more fortunate on the injury front than Georgia this year. They haven't had one season-ending injury. The slight injuries they've had, they've been able to manage. Trent Thompson was banged up for a couple weeks in the middle of the year. Roquan Smith, their best player, has been able to play just about every play without issue. Obviously, Jacob Eason got hurt at the beginning of the year in the first game, and then Jake Fromm comes in and ends up keeping the job because of how well he was able to lead the offense. Nothing with the running backs. I mean, the health of this team is quite remarkable, given every other team. You look at a program like Alabama, which has had to withstand injury after injury and go pretty deep on its depth chart, whereas Georgia hasn't had that happen. And it seems like there have been games late in the season where there have been a scare or two here and there, such as Sony Michel, in that SEC championship. But as it turns out, he's going to be fine, and he should be ready to play Oklahoma on January 1st. So everything still seems to be going well for this Georgia team when it comes to injuries. And I haven't seen a team that fortunate, for that to happen. And, I guess obviously luck plays a big role when you're making a run like Georgia has, and Georgia's been very fortunate in that regard.
Just kind of a crazy question, but if Eason had not been hurt, do you think anything would have been different?
Yeah, that's so tough to think back on. I mean, they definitely, the first half of the year, Georgia leaned on the running game, and the running game did so well. The fact that Eason beat him out and was the clear-cut starter going into the season, I would have to think that not a whole lot would have changed, but you do look at the difference that in that App State game. I mean, nobody really is looking back to that, but those first three drives when Eason was on the field, they could not get anything going offensively. And then Fromm came in and immediately hits a quick strike to Isaac Nauta, starts moving the offense a little bit, and then they were able to get a rhythm from there. Now, I'm not trying to compare and say that's evidence that Jake Fromm is therefore the better option at the position, but you do wonder kind of what would have been, or if anything would have changed, or if Georgia would have had to make a move at some point during the season if things worked out the way they did. And we got to a certain point where they just couldn't turn back from Jake Fromm with how he was able to lead this offense and do some of the pre-snap things that most freshmen or most quarterbacks his age can't do.
Jason Butt with us from the Macon Telegraph. Let's talk briefly about this game before we lose you here. We get questions all the time about the keys to this game. I think most people would acknowledge it's pretty obvious. You've got the best player in college football on the other side of the ball, and you have maybe one of the best players on the defensive side of the ball in Smith. What do you see as the key to victory for the Dogs?
Yeah, for as great of a player as Baker Mayfield is, it's going to come down to if Georgia can stop Oklahoma's run, because they're a team that they don't get as much credit as they deserve when it comes to running the ball. They're well balanced. They average over 200 rushing, over 200 passing a game. So if they're able to contain Rodney Anderson and keep those guys in check, then it's going to force Baker Mayfield, into more situations than he would probably prefer in terms of being leading a one-dimensional offense. And that's where Georgia's had success all season long. Outside of that loss to Auburn, every team that it's played, it has been able to turn them into some sort of one-dimensional offense, whether it's taking the run or taking the pass away. I don't think they're going to be able to take the pass away from Baker Mayfield and those outstanding targets that he has at his disposal. So it's going to be dependent on Roquan Smith and company stuffing that run and forcing Baker Mayfield to have to do too many things alone, with his arm, and then possibly forcing some turnovers. And of the 5 losses that Baker Mayfield has had in 3 years at Oklahoma, usually it's been turnovers and the lack of a running game that's gotten him into trouble. And so that's probably the formula that Georgia has to hope it can get if it's going to win this game.
Great stuff, Jason. Appreciate your time. Best wishes with the book, and we look forward to talking to you again soon as we get closer to January 1. Be well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Paul.
Jason Butt from the Macon Telegraph talking about the Dogs. We will talk more to you when we come back at 855-242-7285. We're with you until 7 Eastern. It is Finebaum Friday. We're going to have a good time. Stick around. We are back here on a Friday afternoon, and we're glad you are with us. Let's continue having a good time with the calls. And let's talk to James, who is up next. Hello, James.
Hello, Paul. Been a long time, buddy.
Glad to hear from you.
I was Dallas fan since '59. I was reading you long before you got on radio.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't remember that I was a writer first.
Yeah. Well, all these people that call you a Bammer, I used to wad the paper up.
I'm glad to hear that.
Especially during the Dubose days.
No, in fact, there were far more, before Saban got there, the majority of people in Alabama thought I hated Alabama.
Yeah, well, I did, but I got over that.
It wasn't true, but I did.
Tell you ever since you've been on radio. But I just want to make a couple of comments. All this stuff about Laura. You remember I don't remember her name. The girl from California, the black lady you used to have on your TV show every now and then? I can't remember her name, but she's in California, and she was very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But Laura is one of the best I've ever heard. I loved Rachel Barbeau when she was in Birmingham. And there's several others. I listen to J-Lo at night, or wherever it is. You know. But I just wanted to say, Laura, two of the best things that's happened on your show, and, well, maybe three, was Marcus, Laura, and that new song by, your song by Taylor Hicks.
Well, again, I think I think everybody knows how I feel about having her here. I think she's added a dimension that we needed, and we're thrilled with it.
Yes.
And, I think it's been a fantastic season.
All right, one more thing. I've got to do this.
Okay.
But I know Taylor Hicks, wrote the song and sang it.
Right.
But who put the inserts in? The little quips in there.
Yeah. Let me ask John Hayes, because he may have been more involved. Guys, you have any idea who put that together?
Yeah, it's our production staff.
Yeah.
Jamari Jordan, he's sitting next to me in here. A bunch of other PAs that work on the show.
Well, that thing with Jim and Tammy, when he says, Tammy, let me talk.
Yeah.
That sums up his whole character right there. Yeah, that's all I got.
That happened about a year ago. There have been some communication. I mean, I've been friends with Taylor for many, many years, even before he won American Idol, and it was just something that we had talked about, and we were thrilled that he was willing to write the song. But it's.
I remember the program when you was talking to him about doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but just that one part.
Yeah.
Where he comes in and says, Jim says, Tammy, let me talk.
Jim's not happy. Jim thought he should be on all the clips in the intro to the show.
Well, look, Jim, he ain't bad. The only thing I worry about him is any man that hides is either a very rich recluse or wanted on the FBI's top 10.
Yeah, I'll go old school. There was a famous billionaire named Howard Hughes that no one ever saw.
That's what I was referring to.
And, I don't think Jim, would you compare Jim, Randy, with Howard Hughes as being a recluse? I don't think so.
No.
So I guess the summation of that or the deduction of that is that Jim is definitely on the FBI's most wanted list.
Well, Paul, I just want you to know, I've listened to you forever.
Thank you.
In Alabama, you're going to play Georgia in the championship game. If Georgia plays like they've been playing, they would slow down and stop. I don't know what the score's going to be. I haven't run the numbers yet. It's too early.
I tell you, when you run the numbers, will you let me know? I'm thinking about going to Vegas with your predictions.
Well, I was 81% last year out of 30 bowling.
You're 81%?
Yes, sir.
You're like you're like the new Danny Sheridan.
Well, I try to call in and talk to Danny, but I got bookies that call me.
James, are we talking against the spread here?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're 81% against the spread, leave your number for me, because I'm really getting sick of working. I'm just going to bet. I'm going to bet it all on the game, and if I win, then
we're leaving.
We all go. Where do you want to go?
We're going to Vegas.
We're going to Vegas. Wow, 81% against the spread. That is just spectacular. What can you say? Let's continue with more. James is in Tupelo, Mississippi, hometown of
Elvis Presley.
I'm all shook up.
Paul, how you doing today?
Doing great.
I wanted to get your thoughts on today, or really yesterday, Ole Miss getting Matt Corral to flip from Florida to Ole Miss, and kind of talk about how Matt Luke's done in this offseason. I know that a lot of people have been skeptical of the hire, of a panic hire, but he seems to be doing well in the recruiting field with the circumstance.
Yeah, I'm going to be reluctant to comment until players sign. They really would prefer us not to do that. But he has done a very good job, and I don't think any coach in America has a more difficult set of circumstances than Matt Luke right now. He does have a lot of roster spots, though. Thank you for the call. I do appreciate it. Let's continue and check in with Linda up next. How are you, Linda?
Fine. How are you, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Good. You're looking good, too. I love that. But that tie and shirt combination yesterday was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, the gray yesterday?
Oh, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if you've heard or not. I wore that for a reason. I've been slated to play the lead in the new 50 Shades of Grey movie.
Oh, really? I can't wait for the opening.
I would just like to be the understudy in that movie.
Yes, listen, I was hoping I'd get to talk to Laura more yesterday, but I understand you were up against a hard break.
Yeah.
But will she be there Monday for all 5 hours?
I believe she will. She is very busy this time of the year, but we have begged her one more time to come back on Monday.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. I'll call in Monday.
We even
to talk
offered
to her.
to get her some candy bars.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I just totally forgot about the National Signing Day moving back to December. So it's going to be that way every year?
Until they get rid of it, which I hope is pretty soon.
Well, I'm going to watch that Monday.
It's actually Wednesday.
But listen. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
That's what people don't realize. We don't leave.
Chris Fowler and his lovely, beautiful wife were on the Chew today.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have met Chris's wife. She's a wonderful woman. Yeah, the main guy in the Chew got suspended, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. They are considering me to replace him on the Chew.
Be more like
they are. I'm about to go Hollywood, even though it's taped in New York. We'll be right back. Paul Finebaum here. In the South, we love football and Crystal. The hot off the grill Crystal Burger is the perfect complement to any tailgate. Take a steamer pack of 24 Crystals to your tailgate. Why didn't I think of that? Plus, Crystal knows you love wings. Barbecue or buffalo wings, Crystal is the stop for all of your cravings this fall. Text Paul, that is Paul, to 37793, and Crystal will hook you up with 2 free Crystals. Nobody does football like the South, and nobody does tailgates like Crystal. Welcome back. Glad you are here, and we'll continue taking your phone calls. A lot more guests to come. Chad Morris will be seen here as well. We had a chance to visit with him earlier, and we'll make sure you don't miss our first conversation with the new Arkansas coach. 855-242-7285 is the number here on a Friday afternoon. Our man is up next.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon.
It's a brisk afternoon in the capital city.
It is pretty brisk out there. It's wintertime. Well, actually not, but
it's
close.
winter. I hate wintertime. I hate wintertime with a passion.
I do too. But you know the best part about winter?
Weather.
Do you know the best part about winter?
What's that?
Spring follows.
Well, that's the best part.
And then you don't have to deal with winter again for 9 months.
Well, and the state of Alabama has kind of, with all this global warming and everything that Al kept talking about, the state of Alabama has actually grown into full 4 seasons. It's almost 4-month periods of each. And used to, we just had a brief winter, summer, and a very brief spring and fall, and a short winter and summer.
Yeah, that's great.
Right now, it's not flip-flop weather. Listen, Paul, I've been hanging out with you for quite a while. I've been on several remotes and live things with you.
We've seen a lot of each other.
Yeah, and we have. And you know what? A lot of people know me through you. And I know a lot of people in Tuscaloosa. And I heard you say something yesterday, I think it was, that somebody sent you a picture, and you said you had seen that picture, but Jim said that wasn't him, and that was floating around 5 years ago. Well, you know what? I showed that picture to several people I do know in Tuscaloosa. Didn't say a word. They said, that's Jim from Tuscaloosa. That picture is Jim from Tuscaloosa working on that 1980s Chevrolet. And you know, Jim just he's not the guy that He just doesn't look like Jesse Owens. He doesn't look like Sandy Koufax or Minnesota Fats or any of them cats. Jim just looks like a guy in the backyard working on a car or trying to. And how do you go play golf where there's no place to play golf? But he does. He found a way. And you know what? He even gave you a score. He said 78. Mm-hmm. Just like casual, 78. But anyhow, Paul, that is picture Jim working on the car, and you know it, and I know it, and all of our friends know it, and guess what? Everybody in Tuscaloosa knows it too. Now you have a great weekend.
What do you want to bet Jim is the next caller?
Yeah, I didn't call for that reason. I'll get to that later. But that is a spiritually sick, lying, scumbag son. Look, that's a lie. I don't have any picture out. I saw that picture. None of those pictures are me.
So Jim, somebody sent me that picture. Is that you?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I told you a year ago it wasn't me. Okay. I told you the stinking picture that Pat put in the studio 10 years ago was not me.
That was not.
But you know what,
we had a picture up in our old studio in Birmingham that I thought was you.
You really crossed the line today. What is this crap about taking cheap shots about me with regard to FBI? Why do you do that kind of crap?
That was just like a joke, man.
No, that's not a joke, you fool. You're an evil bitch. That's what you are. And I don't give a damn if I ever come back on your show again. You are a stinking evil bitch. So are you.
Wow. Yeah, to give you some context, somebody called in and wanted to know whether, what was the first part of that? He said, is Jim either that good looking or not good? I don't remember what it was. Or does he not show up in public because he's on the FBI most wanted list? So it's obviously the latter. We all know Jim's on the most wanted list. And I would say, I don't know, let's say there's 500,000 people listening and watching. That's just for the sake of argument.
Yes.
Of that number, do you think anyone other than Jim thought I was being serious?
No.
So he called up and called me an evil bee. I've never been called that before. Hey, I've been called a million things in my career, but I've never been called an evil bee. Guys, I have to ask you this. I know you're busy in there, but is that I don't want to sound naive, but that doesn't sound like a compliment.
Yeah. And I don't think we should dwell on, if Jim's going to, call names. Who calls names?
Right, we're still recovering in here.
That's something you do in the 6th or 7th grade. But I thought it was very ironic, Paul, that I did receive an email from someone in the FBI earlier this week. And I'm not kidding about that. Now, did it have anything to do with Jim from Tuscaloosa? I'm not willing to disclose that information.
I can't confirm or deny whether that picture, but I think that is his picture, though, Mr. Director.
Yeah, we'll put that picture on the air in a couple minutes.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and put that picture up.
Maybe we'll tweet it.
Yeah, tweet it, Facebook it, Snapchat it.
Instagram.
So, Jim, that was not a smart move. I mean, I have to tell you, friend, I'm not your friend.
Apparently.
Don't attack. There used to be an old saying in the newspaper business: don't attack the people that buy ink by the barrel. That was a line that back in the old days. You don't upset the guys who control the printing press. That was then. You certainly don't upset the guys who can put your picture on the screen. The one that I-Man says is you. And you say is not. And you've also made Brams mad. I mean, Danny Cram. What did he call you again? Danny Crams Bram?
He called me Dullard Doofus Danny Crams, I believe. Yeah.
I mean, listen,
which who's used? Nobody's used the word dullard since about 1943.
What's your first name?
I know what it means.
Is your first name Brams or Danny?
Daniel. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked here nearly 5 years. I've never heard anyone be ugly to Danny Dullard Crams Bram. Have you?
No.
John, have you?
No, total cheap shot from Jim.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've heard trash about John, mainly coming from Randy.
I've trashed myself as well.
People trash me. That's fine. That's legal. That's kosher. But nobody trashes Danny Brams. He's like everybody's lovable friend.
Just a buddy.
Yeah. Hey, good old buddy, old pal. But to call me an evil bee, man.
That's low.
That hurt my feelings, I have to tell you. Thank goodness, though, he said it to me, and no one else was here.
He's lucky I can't get to him.
Yeah, because our friend from yesterday would have come across the table at him.
Oh, it would have been over.
She would not have tolerated that.
He had his eyes clawed out.
Yeah, he would have been dead. She would have just finished him off. I'm not as nice, but maybe I am too nice. But anyway, I'm going to get over it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to let it bother me. Ray is up next. How are you, Ray?
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
We are. Great, fantastic. Been a fan. Maybe the best day of my life.
Well, I'm glad for that. I got a question for you. Nick Saban's one of the best SEC coaches ever.
Sure.
We agree. What do you think, or in the next 3 years, if he was to take any team in the SEC, could he take them to the SEC championship?
As great as he is, I think 3 years. There are a number of teams I think he could, not everyone.
Vanderbilt, could he do it?
I'm not sure with the roster they currently have.
Well, we're talking about today, but in 3 years.
Yeah, and I'm sure not. I think some schools are not set up for that type of success.
Okay, but just a thought. Just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you very much. We are going to take a break. Now, I bet Matt Jones has never been called an evil bee. He will join us next. We're talking to our good friend from Kentucky. He will be with us when we come back. More of your phone calls as well.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We welcome everyone back to the program. Radio folks are back with us. It's been a rather unusual program here, a lot of news. And there is some breaking news at this hour. Just in from the newsroom.
Hot off the press.
Breaking news. Jim from Tuscaloosa has been banned from the program. This is something that a lot of people have suggested for some time. But after he just dropped the evil bee line on the host of the Paul Finebaum show, the powers that be, the people in the other room who run this show,
and wear the mask,
have decided that Jim is done. Sorry, Jim, you are done you're done with the show. I'm not really part of this decision. I just report the news as your friendly newscaster. Did you know this was coming?
No.
We did not know this was coming. But breaking news again: Jim from Tuscaloosa has been banned from the Finebaum show. More on the 6 o'clock news here. We'll get some reaction from the legal analyst of the program, Matt Jones, joining us from Kentucky Sports Radio. Matt, I know you're probably hearing this news as we are, but arguably one of the most famous callers in the history of this program. I don't know if you heard what he said a few minutes ago, but he called me an evil bee because I jokingly said that he was on the FBI's most wanted list.
Well, I'm sad to see him go in some ways because I've had some great battles with him. But since I was surprised he didn't spontaneously combust when Roy Moore lost. So the fact that he is banned is a tough day.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big supporter of Judge Moore, and again, we don't talk politics on this program unless we're talking to you.
Well, who's we, Paul? I didn't sign that pledge, but yes.
Well, I said we being the Finebaum show, we are apolitical on this program.
I understand.
We didn't know anybody who was running in that race. But anyway, I didn't mean to. He is welcome to call your show, though. I guess, isn't he?
I would love for him to.
Yeah.
I think I always try to take your hand me down. So whatever, if he wants to come to KSR, we'd be glad to have him.
Well, how's everything going, Matt? We haven't talked to you in a long time.
Well, everything's great. You know, the basketball season is about to approach. The SEC is going to be better in basketball this year than in at least 15 years, I believe. And Kentucky football's in a bowl game, although everybody in the country believes Kentucky's going to lose by 1,000.
Yeah.
So things are actually pretty good here. And, of course, Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich both got fired. So I think things are pretty nice in Kentucky.
That's a double whammy for you, isn't it?
Well, I mean, in some ways it's like what does Batman do when the Joker is gone, right? Like it becomes – there's a part of me that wonders, am I going to miss them? I mean, they were such great foil for me for years. I mean, they were the living embodiment of the evil empire. And, like, you can't hate David Padgett, the current coach of – I mean, David Padgett's like 6'11" and nice, so what are you going to say? Now, good thing is they still got Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino might be the least likable human that exists, so that's good. But there's a part of me that will miss them, even though they should have been gone a long time ago.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a story that, as you know, it may not be old news in Kentucky, but, I mean, people are just so sick of Rick Pitino that they don't really care what happens to him, do they?
Yeah, you're right. And he was literally, this just came out, GQ magazine had their 10 least influential people of 2017, and they put Rick Pitino on it, which I think is, I mean, he was on there with like some really terrible characters. Pitino was right there. In some ways, it's a sad way to see that career end, because, I mean, you remember Rick Pitino.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, would you have ever imagined the Rick Pitino with the Knicks and Kentucky, that this would be how it would end? You just would have never imagined.
No, I mean, honestly, Matt, if he called in right now, I wouldn't take his call. I mean, he's just not that relevant.
It's just so the banned list is Jim from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to tell you, I would probably go to Jim first, even though he's banned.
Wow, that is something else. Jim didn't even make the least influential people list.
Let me ask you though. Speaking about not being very influential, and I don't want to rain on his parade because some will look from a distance and go, "Hey, 7-5, that's progress." But this Kentucky season, Matt, it just didn't end well, and if this bowl game goes like many think it will, I don't know what to say about this year. Do you?
Well, it's tough because on the surface, listen, you know how many years in the last 30 Kentucky's had a better record than 7-5? One.
Yeah, one.
One time. So on one level, I can understand, and I've heard Stoops sort of hint this a little bit. Look, we've had back-to-back 7-5 years. That's happened twice in the last 35 years. So why aren't people happy? But I think a lot of it is there'll never be a Kentucky football schedule easier than this one. The SEC East was a disaster, and they played Mississippi State and Ole Miss on the other side. You couldn't have asked for a better schedule. And they lost to Florida for the 32nd straight time, a game they should have won. And they finished the year getting blown out by Louisville. So I think that makes it tough. Now, on the counter to that, I would say, though, Kentucky continues to make strides forward. You remember what the program was like when Mark Stoops got there. They were awful. Neil Brown was the offensive coordinator at the time. And he told me when he took the job, it was the worst talent he had seen in a Division I, bowl, 5 major conference team. And I don't think that's wrong. And now, they're the top 20 in next year's recruiting class. They just got a quarterback commitment over Florida and Nebraska. So there's a lot of positives, but you're right. There's a sense amongst fans that it was a year that they let stuff go.
Overall, let me get some of your thoughts about this league. You mentioned how bad the East was. I mean, there have been so many coaching changes. Everyone has had opinions. I'm sure the one that has interested you the most is the one in Knoxville.
Oh, boy, that was great.
From start to finish, a lot of people seem to think that Jeremy Pruitt was a very good choice by Philip Fulmer. Now, I don't know what scale they're grading that on, maybe based on the disaster that preceded it, but I'm really curious from the beginning to the end, your thoughts on this unbelievable.
Well, here's what I would say about Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt would have been a heck of a hire at Kentucky, right? Because that's the kind of coach Kentucky usually gets. They go to a program that's had a lot of success, and they go and hire one of their coordinators, and they hope it works out. That's what they did with Mark Stoops at Florida State. Tennessee, I always thought, was better than that. I mean, I just did, and I know Tennessee fans did. Now, that doesn't mean he won't have success. Lots of great coaches come through that. that pipeline, and he might end up being great. But what surprised me about that coaching search is that Tennessee basically has now become in the tier of programs that has to go hire somebody and hope, right? That is not what Tennessee used to be. Alabama, LSU, Florida, they don't have to go hire somebody and hope. They go hire somebody they know is good and hope they become great. Tennessee now finds itself hiring the kind of coaches Kentucky hires. Hire a coordinator and hope. And now, look, I think he might be wonderful, but that was surprising to me to watch that develop, even though I've kind of been hitting at it for a while. I think what you saw in these coaching searches is you saw the tiers of programs in the SEC. To me, there are 6 jobs that they get what they want. Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Florida, Texas A&M, and then probably Georgia. And Tennessee thinks it's one of those teams, but they're not, and this coaching search showed it.
Talking to Matt Jones, and Matt, I want to ask you, as someone who is, hosts a radio show that really represents the people of the Commonwealth, what is your thoughts on a lot of Tennessee fans, even some well-known colleagues of ours who seem to be gleeful in taking credit for having run off Greg Schiano?
I think it was I think it was embarrassing. I think that was one of the more embarrassing couple days I've ever seen. They're gleeful about it, but they have totally ruined that man's reputation on a national level in a way that will be hard for him to overcome. For what purpose? Now, I know a lot of them are going to say, well, he may have done this or known this at Penn State, and maybe he did, but that is far from clear. Far from clear. And I believe that for 80% of those people, it didn't matter. They did not want him to be the coach because they did not think he was a good enough coach. And thus they found something to attach on, and what happened next sort of was irrelevant to them. And I think it is really disgraceful. Now, of course, we might find out one day that Schiano knew a lot more about all the stuff at Penn State, and then fans might go, we'll see. But the thing is, they didn't know that at the time. They were taking something, and what they were mad about is that Schiano's last name was not Gruden. That's what they were mad about. And now they get Jeremy Pruitt. And again, maybe he'll be great. But what do we know about Jeremy Pruitt to say that he'll certainly be better than Greg Schiano was? Based on what? So you essentially ruin a man's reputation, probably are going to cost your school quite a bit of money if he sues. To do what? To get a guy that might be better, might be worse? I'm not sure that was the proudest day for the Tennessee fan base.
And not only that, like it or not, the athletic director gets fired 5 days later because he wants to bring in Mike Leach in the aftermath of this debacle.
Who would have been good, by the way?
Okay, I'm
Mike
curious.
Leach, Mike Leach would have been good. I think Mike Leach would have actually had a lot of success. And listen, Philip Fulmer seems like a great guy. One of my colleagues is really good friends with him up here, and I'm sure he's wonderful, and he's done a lot for that program. But is the way to move Tennessee football forward to where you're headed towards modern success to bring in Philip Fulmer? He's a wonderful dude, I'm sure, but really? Do you think all across America the sexy Tennessee football brand is back because Philip Fulmer's back involved? Mike Leach would have been fun. I will tell you this. Here's how I judge coaching hires of my rival. Do they scare me? And when I heard they were getting Mike Leach, they scared me because I thought Tennessee's going to beat Kentucky 55-10 for the next 5 years. I don't feel that way about Jeremy Pruitt. So in my mind, I'm glad they hired Pruitt instead of Leach.
Before you go, let's get a basketball update. We'll be spending plenty of time in the winter months talking to you about that, but how are the Cats looking? And I think they're playing, Northwestern this weekend?
And I play Virginia Tech, who's actually pretty good.
Okay.
I think the basketball team this weekend's game will tell us a lot. Virginia Tech leads the nation in scoring.
Hey, by the way, shows you how much I follow Kentucky football. I got the bowl game confused with the basketball.
Yes, they play Northwestern in the bowl game.
No big deal. Same school, different sport.
same amount of dorky sports journalists that went there, just different sports. No, we'll know a lot more about Kentucky basketball after this weekend. I think they win, but Virginia Tech scores a lot.
Okay.
The next 3 games for Kentucky, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Louisville. You'll know a lot more about Kentucky at the end of that stretch.
What's that Louisville game going to be like?
It'll be weird because the bowl game's the same day.
Oh,
and I
okay.
actually think, Paul, this would surprise you. But I've talked to a lot of fans, and more people are going to the bowl game than the basketball game.
That's interesting. Well,
and it's because Rick's gone.
yeah, it's hard to really hate Louisville as much, isn't it?
Yeah, they do. It's hard to hate them as much because this team is weird. They got likable guys, and David Padgett's a lame duck coach. So people are like, well, we can't go boo this kid who all this was going on. So I actually think, bizarrely, it'll be one of the least, exciting Kentucky-Louisville games ever. Although once they hire somebody new next year, it'll get right back to where it is. So
what's the day of that game?
It's the 29th. So Kentucky plays Louisville at 1 in basketball.
Is that next Friday?
It's a Friday,
Yeah.
And they play at 1 in basketball on CBS, and then at 4:30 on ESPN in the bowl game against Northwestern in Nashville. So, it is a huge day. That is I will say, a kind of make-or-break UK fan day. If you beat Louisville and then win the bowl game, that's a heck of a day. But if you lost both those games, I'm not sure Kentucky fans would have much worse of a day possible.
So as the be-all sports figure in that state, where will you be that day?
I'm going to the bowl game. I mean, look, Kentucky in my lifetime has only been to 6 bowl games, so I'm going to it when it happens. They'll play Louisville again next year. Who knows when the bowl games come?
So that's a week from today, Louisville and Kentucky.
No. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Today,
Why?
29th. Remember, there's a little holiday called Christmas between now and then.
I am sorry.
I know you liberals have a war on Christmas.
You're right. You're right.
We celebrate it here in Kentucky, and don't you forget it.
Can we buy a calendar in here so I can? I'm trying. You think I'm trying to rush through Christmas? Is that what I'm doing?
No, I know how it is. It's you secular liberals trying to end Christmas. I know how it is.
Hey, when you running for the Senate?
Well, they got to have a race first. But, if a Jones can win in Alabama, Paul.
Are you related to that Jones is my question.
I'm not. I will say, here's the thing about Doug Jones, and I'll shut up. When he started talking and he went, golly, I never thought I'd be here. I was like, well, that guy did not think he would be here. That's true.
When you saw the headline, though, Senator Jones, you saw that in the Montgomery Advertiser, Senator Jones, Democrat, you had to start thinking, though, didn't you?
I was sitting there thinking, did I wake up in Mobile one day and not realize I was there?
By the way, when is McConnell's seat open?
It's 2020, but I
Wow.
mean, not that I've been looking or anything.
No. Hey, by the way, Trump may send you a donation if you run against McConnell.
Hey, listen, we take on all comers. I have a Make Kentucky Bowl eligible again hat, and so we can transfer that around into something else if we need to.
The next time we talk, we'll talk about Rand Paul and all that's going on with him. I'm sure that's been
Dude, what a great story that was, wasn't it? Have you ever gotten in a fight with somebody about their yard work?
No, that has not happened in my life.
By the way, have you ever mowed your yard? That's my question.
Yes, I have.
When's the last time you mowed your yard?
Senator, I can't recall that question right now.
Well, thanks.
I'll talk to the staff, and we'll provide you with a written response to that as soon as we're finished with this hearing. Matt, thanks for the call. We always enjoy talking.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. Bye-bye. Matt Jones, always entertaining. And we will come back. You can tell we're a little sluggish today. We're getting dates wrong, bowl matchups wrong. We've been called an evil bee. I have not been the same since then. I'm sorry. I just can't think straight. I'm calling in sick the rest of the day. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your afternoon. Peter Burns will be joining us shortly. We haven't talked to this next guest in a long time. He's with the Chicago Tribune, Teddy Greenstein. Always a great sport, entertaining. And, Teddy, hope the season has been good to you. How are you?
Paul, I'm awesome, buddy. How are you?
We are doing great. We talked to you, I think, as the season was unfolding and once or twice since then. But I want to start with your reaction. Certainly the Big Ten had its moments this year, but how bitter a pill was it for Ohio State not to get in the playoff?
You know, I think Ohio State fans were not as angry as Alabama fans would have been if the Crimson Tide had been snubbed, because I think Ohio State fans look at it and they say, yeah, we did lose twice badly. I think they basically gave up hope after that Iowa game. I mean, if you give up 55 points as a fan base, I think you're saying, okay, this is probably not our year. Then a couple things happened and there were some upsets to give them, to make them feel like, all right, maybe this is going to happen. But I think they also saw in the Big Ten championship game, they didn't dominate. It wasn't 59-0 like it had been a few years earlier under, with Cardale Jones at quarterback. So I think they were pretty realistic. The only thing that was messed up in their minds is, they were told a week earlier by Kirby Hocutt, hey, there's a very little gap here between 5 and 8. And they've always been told that conference titles mean a lot. So I think they kind of just felt like, wait a second, do conference titles mean a lot or nothing? Because it feels like the goalposts were moved.
I agree with you on that. I thought that that was fairly dishonest of the committee to say that. And then when they came back on that Sunday, their answer just made no sense whatsoever.
They just make it up. You just make it up if you want to justify it. I mean, my take after the Big Ten title game had been Ohio State will get the call, but Alabama should get the call. I'm a guy who really values the regular season, and you couldn't just pretend that Ohio State didn't lose, at home to Oklahoma and get destroyed at Iowa. So I really thought Alabama deserved to be there, but based on what we've known from the previous few years, since 2014, I thought Ohio State was going to get the call. I also thought that just geographically, you probably want to include the Midwest rather than not. But the committee went for Alabama, and, hey, they're going to put up a much better fight against Clemson than Ohio State would.
Yeah, and that's what I heard from, even as you did and have, from Ohio State fans. When it got right down to it, it was hard to argue. And I'm curious because you cover this league, and I've always thought it was a really good league, but in that game, it almost seemed like that game was a setback, the game against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I agree, Paul. It wasn't a great game. I mean, there were some weird aspects to it. Obviously, Wisconsin's defense had been amazing all season, and then they allow 5 plays of 50-plus yards. Now, when you hear that Ohio State has 5 plays of 50-plus, you think it's probably going to be a blowout, and yet there it is, 27-21. Wisconsin is driving late in the game, and if not for a holding penalty that could have been nullified by what looked like a pass interference by Ohio State, they would have been offsetting penalties. Wisconsin's got a pretty good chance to go down and win the game despite not playing all that great. So the game was kind of blah. I don't think either team looked really that strong, and I think that's why Ohio State fans can swallow the fact that they're not in the playoff.
Teddy, let me ask you about the playoffs. So you follow college football with a front row seat. Let me start with Alabama. Hard to get a handle on this team. Supposedly going to be a lot better with players coming back, but yeah. Take a look at that game against Clemson for us.
Well, I mean, how can you not be unbelievably impressed with Clemson? I mean, to lose Deshaun Watson and still be spectacular, other than one night at Syracuse. I got to think that Clemson's the team. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't see Alabama play a ton this year. I was smoking for when they were playing Auburn, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on that team. But I do think also Alabama made a good point. Those fans were there saying, wait a second. I mean, if you're going to start talking about, giving a break to teams when they had injured players, what about our linebackers? And I think that's that's completely valid in part, and should have been part of why, they got that number 4 seed.
And on the other side, we have Oklahoma and Georgia. What do you think gives in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Georgia play at Notre Dame, and those defensive ends were just spectacular. Against an offensive line of Notre Dame's, we felt like they have at least 2 first-round picks, if not top 20 picks. And Georgia certainly has some momentum. That said, that Oklahoma offense is unstoppable, and unless the jinx gets to the quarterback, I think Oklahoma's going to do it there.
Talking to Teddy about the college football season. Teddy, the bowl games, they start tomorrow, and I know that every team and every fan can find something that they like, but
right.
But I'm anxious to find something you like, as opposed to maybe changing the format a little bit or adding teams to the playoff.
Well, I mean, what I like is, we've got bowl mania, we've got bowl pools. I mean, they're like, so many different ways to wager and have fun with these games that it's funny. I mean, last week Army-Navy was absolutely spectacular, but it was the only game on the weekend, and you feel like, wait a second, where's the rest of my football? So A lot of these games won't be interesting. There'll be 27 people in the crowd for some of them, but just having football on TV and having them be part of a pool, I think that's pretty exciting for a lot of people.
In the end, I mentioned the playoffs. If you had to pick a winner today, would you go with Clemson, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Oh, it would be Clemson or Oklahoma. I'd like to see those semifinal games first before I really make a pick. But if I had to, I would say Clemson right now.
And you would go with Oklahoma in the other game?
I would, exactly, with Baker, yes.
Well, we knew we could count on you for SEC bias.
Except I know some of your listeners will be disappointed that I'm not lobbying for a 2-loss Ohio State to get that fourth spot in the playoffs.
Yeah,
no chance, man.
We held off because I had a feeling, knowing you're a pragmatist, you would probably not be that upset. We just had Matt Jones on. He was talking about Kentucky, obviously taking on Northwestern, a school near and dear to your heart. What's you're in Chicago? Is there? Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious what you think about the Northwestern season as we approach that game.
Yeah, and I was up in Evanston yesterday, and I'll be in Nashville for the Music City, so extremely excited for a couple days there. But here's what I can tell you, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. Last year, you might recall that Danny Cannell put a 40 on Pittsburgh to beat Northwestern at Yankee Stadium in the Pinstripe Bowl. I didn't really know about it. Sorry, Danny. Until after the game when Fitz and all the players made a huge deal about it and said that it had motivated them throughout bowl prep. Now we go to this year. Northwestern is favored by more than 7. I don't think Northwestern's ever been favored by a bowl game in program history. And they're wary of the same thing happening. In fact, they've heard of commentators now putting a 40 on Northwestern. So I can promise you, the Wildcats of Evanston are absolutely wary of Kentucky in terms of really good athletes, really good skill guys, Benny Snell, Steven Johnson. And they are, they don't want to have it flipped to them. They don't want Kentucky all of a sudden to be motivated by everyone telling them they don't have a chance or they should just be happy to be there. Northwestern is determined to play well in this game.
Enjoy the Music City experience. Teddy, always great to catch you up. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great one, man. Take care.
You got great writer Teddy Greenstein. Well, joining us here from the Chicago Tribune. We are going to take a break. We've been pretty busy with phone callers and guests. A couple of callers in particular have owned the day or ruined the day. Take your pick. We are coming back with more. We welcome all of you back. Let's go to JB in Tennessee. Welcome to the show, JB. Thanks for being here.
Hey, happy Friday, Paul. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, I'm a little shook up still from the gym at Tuscaloosa band, so I'm trying to get my thoughts together.
Yeah,
just a couple of observations. So one, I wanted to kind of get your feedback on. I'm in a small town here in Tennessee, and around lunchtime I went into town to pick up a pizza, and not really sure why, but I had thrown on an Oklahoma University hat. I just kind of like the color of it. I'm an Alabama graduate, full Bama fan. A guy came up to me in the pizza place. He's a transplanted Yankee boy. And I've just been running into a lot of Big Ten bias, and I guess the guy came up to me because I had an Oklahoma hat on, and he was talking about how, Oklahoma's clearly going to run over Georgia, and how Clemson's going to, he predicted 3-touchdown win for Clemson over Alabama.
Sure.
And I just, I'm not sure if they just don't follow SEC football. I mean, personally, as an Alabama fan, I think the Clemson game will be a close game. I believe we'll probably ek it out, but I've just been running in. He was Ohio State, and it seems to be. It was funny with Teddy Greenstein or Steen leading in. It just seems to be like a recurrent theme with Ohio State fans. Have you experienced that at all in the industry?
I am a little bit surprised. I mean, Alabama in Vegas, people can scoff if they want. They're the favorite in this game by 3 points.
Yeah, and I mean, I think anyone that follows, Auburn, granted, it's a tough place to play in Auburn, and it's a big rivalry. They were up for the game, and that kind of leads to my second part of my question that I had for you. I was hoping to get through. I kept trying to get through yesterday when Laura was on there. I love Jalen Hurts. I love the kid. I love his attitude. I think he's an awesome player. How do you scoff at a guy who's lost 2 games in his career? But I'm just also wondering how you feel about Tua.
Listen, we're short on time. I like Tua, but I don't. And I've heard some people say maybe you could put him in situationally, but I still think Jalen Hurts is the best option.
Yeah, probably this playoffs. Do you think if they get off to a rough start, though, however, you think you might see him?
Let me pause there. We'll try to react to that a little bit when we come back. We're out of time. Thank you very much. Paul Finebaum here. In the South, we love football and Crystal. The Hot Off the Grill Crystal Burger is the perfect complement to any tailgate. Take a steamer pack of 24 Crystals to your tailgate. Why didn't I think of that? Plus, Crystal knows you love wings. Barbecue or buffalo wings, Crystal is the stop for all of your cravings this fall. Text Paul, that is P-A-U-L, to 37793, and Crystal will hook you up with 2 free Crystals. Nobody does football like the South, and nobody does tailgates like Crystal. Let's grab some more calls, and Jeff is up next. Jeff is in Memphis. Good afternoon to you.
I tell you what, Paul, I really take offense to what Jim did today, and I knew this ban was coming because I knew y'all just couldn't put up with him much longer because he is pathetic and all. And I tell you, I just take offense to him saying those things to you, and I don't understand why he's got so much anger. But if the callers are willing to come together, we could send Jim to an anger management class, and maybe that would calm him down. What do you think, Paul? I mean, I know he's banned, but maybe he needs some help, Paul. I mean, maybe he needs some sort of help to help him get through this time.
I'd be willing to contribute to that. Do you think Jim would be amenable to all of us pitching in and sending him to? I mean, is anger management is that outpatient, or do you need to go to a clinic and stay there?
I think he needs to stay an extended period of time because I really think he's got deep-seated issues.
How much would that cost? Because, I mean, before I commit, I'd like to get a ballpark figure. 28 days at an anger.
A couple grand maybe for
you think we can do it under 10,000?
We'll do a GoFundMe. Oh, easy. Yeah, I think so.
I'll tell you what. We could either GoFundMe. I think let's do that. I agree with you. Let's be positive. I want to be Pauly positive today. Let's all we'll start seeking money. We'll send him for 28 days. I mean, there may be a facility nearby him in Tuscaloosa. We could get a discount.
Sure there is.
Maybe the is there where do you find just Google anger management clinics? I mean, would there be one?
I think so. Yeah, you can just go online and Google that, and we'll put him in we'll go pick him up and take him to it if we need to.
Jeff, I hate to put you on the spot, but it was your idea. I mean, how much can we count on you for?
I mean, I'd be willing to do, maybe $100 or so.
$100? Okay, I tell you what. If you put 100 in, Randy, what can
I'm good for 100.
Are you good for 100? Yeah. I'm good for 100 as well. We have raised.
What about I-Man and Squirrel?
I can't. Well, we've raised $300 right now. And we got hundreds of thousands of listeners. I don't think this will take long. No. I mean, if it means getting them off the show and out of our hair for at least 28 days, I think most people would go, especially at this time of the year.
It's a giving time, Paul. It's a giving time.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much. 100. I mean, I'm not crazy about giving 100. Okay. Yeah. It is Christmas and all, and I had that 100 designated for.
That's where Jeff started.
But I'm going to be a man about this. 100. We got 300. Can I hear 400? Brams, what about it?
Let me go. I got to run to my car and check the change thing real quick. If I got anything in there, go with the cause. 100%.
Hazy.
I'll go $10 max.
Okay.
He's a hater.
You know what? I'm thinking that 100 is more than I really want to give. Rob, what we got from you?
100.
100. I hear 100. We got 400 raised.
And 10.
410. Brams, what about it? Can we hit? Is 10?
How much change you got in your car?
I mean, I got about 78 cents worth of change.
We got $410.78 right here, right now. I should have been a auctioneer. We got $410.78. That's pledged. Would someone like to match it?
Matching gifts.
Good. Most companies will match. I don't know about this company. Never had to get that far down on the major medical to see if they'll match you for anger. By the way, I don't mean to. I mean, I do know a little bit about psychiatric care. But is anger management, would that be under another? I mean, what's that under? Do you know, Randy? Is that it's under some disorder? I mean, I just don't think you're driving down the interstate and there's a picture of a guy like anger management clinic. I mean, I've heard of pain management clinic. I've heard of all kinds of addictive. I mean, there's. Okay, what do we got, Brams? Impulse. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I do think. I mean, I don't. Well, I don't want to psychoanalyze him because I think I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And it is serious, and any disorder is serious, especially if it's psychological. And I think there is a pretty easy description of what. And I'm not a psychiatrist, although I play one on television. Let's.
Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express. How did you know that? Joe is up next in Louisville. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing today, sir?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Before I wanted to ask you a question, I just want to let you know that my 7-year-old daughter, Kaylee, every day she comes home from school, she comes straight to the TV to watch you.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Every single day.
That is so good. How old is she?
And my question, she is 7 years old.
Oh my! Well, she's a well-rounded 7-year-old.
Oh yeah, she's something. All right, she's crazy and she just loves your show. My question for you is: Benny Snell Jr. led the SEC in rushing this year. Why did the coaches snub him to second team instead of first?
Well, let's see. I mean, you had a couple of pretty good running backs on first team, didn't you?
Yes, the Auburn running back.
Yeah, I mean, Carry-On was the offensive player of the year.
Okay.
Who else was on the team? Was Chubb on the team?
For Georgia, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Listen, Benny was fantastic. I just don't know. Forget Carry-On. He's not replacing him. It's just now is it Benny versus Chubb?
Yes, sir. My next question to you is: what do you think the final score would be for the Northwestern Kentucky game, if you had to guess?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward Kentucky, even though everyone. I think John was liking Northwestern, but I'm going to go down with the Cats.
Down with the Cats. All right, I'll take you to it. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much. I won't mention the person's name, but I got a text here.
Mm-hmm.
200. 200.
$610.70.
We got 600, and I just don't think it would be fair to this person. Let me just show you who it is. You agree?
Absolutely.
No way we're revealing that. That would be a deeper, darker secret than Deep Throat in Watergate.
You are not lying.
No. Jim's going, who is it?
The force is with us.
The force is with us.
With that.
Wow, this is starting to be fun. Mike is in Tulsa. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Paul. First-time caller, short-time listener.
Well, thank you very much. Well, not really.
Yeah, just one thing. I'll take it off the air. I just want to say, Boomer, and you suck.
What?
Okay, wow.
Man, a lot of hate today.
Okay, no, I can't decide. The person's. I can't do that. It would be so. No, we're going to keep that quiet. Okay. Well, here, sorry about this. Paul Finebaum here. In the South, we love football and Crystal. The hot off the grill Crystal burger is the perfect complement to any tailgate. Take a steamer pack of 24 Crystals to your tailgate. Why didn't I think of that? Plus, Crystal knows you love wings. Barbecue or buffalo wings, Crystal is the stop for all of your cravings this fall. Text Paul, that is P-A-U-L, to 37793, and Crystal will hook you up with 2 free Crystals. Nobody does football like the South, and nobody does tailgates like Crystal. And we say hello to you on a Friday afternoon. We hope all is well wherever you are, and hope you haven't overwhelmed yourself with Christmas shopping. We're here for the next 4 hours, and we hope you will stick around with us because we have a lot to do and a lot of headlines and a lot of news to share with you. Also, a lot of phone calls. College football's bowl season gets underway. Yep, it's here. Whether you're ready for it or not, tomorrow, bowl games all day and into the evening, beginning with the Celebration Bowl. We'll go over the entire list, usual first weekend of bowl games, and there it is, Celebration Bowl. That is the first one on the list. And then just kind of work your way through. Troy versus North Texas after that, Western Kentucky and Georgia State. Boise and Oregon, most people think that's probably the best game of the day, although Grambling, North Carolina A&T is pretty good. Marshall and Colorado State. Middle and Arkansas State, working your way through the day. Final game starts at 8 p.m., and that is in the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl. I believe that game is in Montgomery, Alabama. Meanwhile, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, it earned $45 million on Thursday. That would be a great take for most movies,
but not that
period. That's the first night.
Folding money.
Good to hear. Another Disney sensation. And looks like at least part of the movie has come to us. Brams, what happened to your costume?
It got lost in the mail. I don't know what happened.
Disney could only afford one costume?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jabba the Hutt's not in this movie, so.
Is that Hayes over there, or is that Kubiak? I can't tell. Oh, I forgot. It's Friday. Kubiak doesn't work on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that made
Sorry,
you for you.
Didn't mean. My bad.
I will try to stay in
Shouldn't I
character
have
all
known
day.
that?
You should have.
See, I've been gone for most of. I've been gone on Friday since August. I forgot. The chosen one has Fridays off. Is that correct, guys?
That is correct, Paul.
Okay.
Coobs has the dream schedule.
That's a pretty good gig, working 4 days a week. Where do you find one of those?
He doesn't do anything when he's here.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't rip on him. Too many other people have already beaten us to it. Lexington Herald leader new December signing period was supposed to make things easier, but many are confused, and that's something we were talking about during our 2 o'clock show. We had Chad Morris on. We'll share some of that with you a little bit later on, but he is not happy. He's a coach trying to find the staff and figure things out, and I don't think when signing day gets here on Wednesday, you're going to hear too many coaches praising it. Anyway, we welcome you back. We'll get your phone calls in a moment at 855-242-7285. What's the old saying? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
That's it.
Everywhere you go. Yeah, it is. Let's see. We'll be here all next week, by the way. But when we sign off here next Friday afternoon, the Christmas weekend will have arrived. Something tells me it will have arrived before we sign off, Randy, wouldn't you say? I would say next Friday not going to be one of the heavy work days of the year. But we will be here because we have nowhere else to go. Why don't we go to the phones here at 855-242-7285. That will be something that we spend time with. We have a number of guests as well. I mentioned Chad Morris was with us earlier. We'll recap some of that for you a little bit later on for those folks listening on radio in Arkansas and everywhere else who are interested in what the new coach has to say. Let's see what's on the line. And Sean starts us off in Canada. Sean, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much. I just recently saw the podcast numbers, Paul, and congratulations to you and the staff. The show is just it's a rocket. So congratulations.
Thank you. I haven't actually seen
and
some
the voice.
Thank John Hayes. He's the podcast maestro.
Oh well, congratulations, John.
Oh, Canada.
Paul, the reason for my call today is twofold. One, I just wanted a quick call and comment from you on the recent comments by the young UCF running back, talking a little smack to Auburn. He said they might be in for a rude awakening. I would counter that by saying I think UCF is in for a rude awakening when Auburn steps on the field. They haven't played a defense like Auburn all year, and I feel that that game's not going to be close. I'm not sure how
listen, Sean, when you face Georgia's defense and LSU's defense and Alabama's defense, and again, he was talking about the SEC. Auburn's also run into Clemson out of the SEC. I mean, that is a patently stupid comment. And it's one thing if it was misinterpreted, but I just got through watching the video of that about 30 minutes ago, and I mean, it was intentional. I mean, he meant to say that to that reporter, so he can live with the consequences.
You're right, Mr. Finebaum, and ultimately I think he will, because I just don't see UCF standing any chance against that defense. And my secondary call, Paul, is one of our great callers, Jim from Tuscaloosa, must be so happy that 2017 is almost over, because it's been one drag out curb stomp after another in the past 6 weeks. First it was Laura, took him to the woodshed.
She did, and she ever.
And if that wasn't enough, he got up and lo and behold, Coach Kiffin just decided to take him out.
I think the worst beatdown was Lane Kiffin, don't you?
I think so too.
I mean, and the part of that, because Laura just kept it on facts. She doesn't get into personal attacks.
Lane got personal.
But Kiffin just waylaid the guy.
Oh my God! It reminded me of that old Terminator movie, Paul, where Arnold walks in and says, "Give me your clothes, your keys to your motorcycle, and all your money." And the guy, in a bar room, he's laughing it off, and then all of a sudden, it becomes a barroom ball, and all of a sudden we see Coach Kiffin just takes Jim and puts him on that curb and doesn't let up.
Is that where the phrase "curb stomp" came from?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, I just. But I've always wondered. It's one thing. I mean, they're different variables in terms of behind the woodshed, but curb stomp. Does that mean you're out on the curb and just getting stomped on?
Yeah, that's pretty graphic.
I mean, is there something worse than a curb stomping?
I don't think so. Not to my.
The country boy whipping.
Ass whooping.
I've had country boys explain to me that one. That's not pretty.
No, but I don't think anything's as bad as a curb stomp.
Well, but that's the city version. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it? I think. I'm from the city. I'm not a country boy, but I think the city curb stomping has more danger, I think, long term.
Yeah. But
I think you can recover maybe in a month or two from a country boy. There's a chance you're not going to recover from a curb stomping. You may be part of the curb if you're not careful.
No, that's true. But on footnote on Jim, Paul, I know you're a learned individual, and I just wanted to ask you: do you see a connection between Jim and Willie Loman from Death of a Salesman?
Oh my goodness! One of the Arthur Miller play, one of my favorites.
Yes.
Ever seen Death of a Salesman? I don't. Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say he was overly educated, but he was more, I think, cultured.
Yes, and as opposed to say another literary character, I find Jim to have a lot in common with, and that's Don Quixote.
Don Quixote?
Yes. Although
are we talking Man of La Mancha here?
Yeah. Although in Jim's case, he doesn't really have a Sancho to play off of.
It's one of my favorite books of all time.
Oh, me too. I loved it as I read it when I was 12, Paul, and I've tried to find every special edition.
I know they lost Alabama, Auburn, and LSU, and they beat Arkansas in overtime, and Ole Miss took them to the wire. So
yes,
the road is not paved too smoothly. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, and appreciate your show and watching you all, and good luck with your efforts with Jim.
Thank you very much. You be well. Thanks a lot.
All right.
We are going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we are going to share with you our conversation with Chad Morris. We were able to catch up with him a little bit earlier, and I realize everyone didn't see it, so I hope you are able to stick around and watch and listen when we come back. Welcome back to the program. We mentioned that earlier today, during our first hour, Laura and I had a chance to check in with the very new, just introduced last week, coach at the University of Arkansas, Chad Morris.
Thank you for the opportunity to be the next head football coach at the University of Arkansas. I promise you, the more you get to know me, I won't let you down. Our staff won't let you down. We want to win. Make no mistake about it. We're here to win. We want to win. We want to win championships. The one thing you'll never have to do is you'll never have to tell me go. You may have to tell me whoa, but you won't ever have to tell me go.
And we welcome you back. We've been listening to Coach Morris at his introductory press conference, and he seems like he got the Woo Pig Suey down pretty well.
You got to get the Woo Pig Suey down. He does look good. We'll ask him about his technique in just a moment, but Paul, getting piggy with it. Here's what Arkansas has. This is what he's inheriting. Finished 4-8. Last place in the SEC West, 1-7 in the SEC. Tough year, certainly. And the notable 2018 returnees, I think this is what you really look at. You know, the Allen era is over. Brandon Allen and Austin Allen no longer there. So quarterback Cole Kelly, certainly a big body at the QB position. Needs some work in some areas, but he will be coming back as well as defensive end McTelvin Agim. So good stuff there.
Coach, thanks for being with us. I watched your press conference live, and you nailed pretty much everything. I'm most interested in how you got the Woo Pig Suey down on such short notice.
Well, actually, my wife the night before YouTubed it, and we had to practice in Dallas in our living room before we flew up.
Oh
on the
my
next
goodness!
Day.
Wait,
Yeah.
I'm imagining just the visual there. You two in the living room, just doing Woo Pig in the living room. I'm sure that was fun. Did you critique each other and kind of say, hey, your form's a little off?
Well, no, but we did know this. We knew, of course, my son, Chandler, he was like, hey, look, we can't mess this up. We can't get off on the wrong foot right off. And I said, absolutely. So let's get it out. Let's practice right now.
Coach, I have to tell you something. I was out there a couple of years ago, and they were going to ask me to do it, I think, on our set. I did the exact same thing, and I still screwed it up. So obviously that's why you're the head coach, and I'm watching.
Paul sometimes messes those things up that are very important to schools. But, Coach, we just saw the graphic there of what's coming back for you, what you're inheriting there at Arkansas. And I know it's been a whirlwind for you, but have you had a chance to see what's on this team a little bit and kind of, look at the state of the program?
Well, what's kind of ironic about this is that throughout the course of the season, sitting in a hotel room getting ready to go and play our games, Arkansas actually came on two or three times, and I, just from afar watching it, and just kind of evaluating and just watching the schemes on both sides of the ball. But as far as just, looking at the roster, finding out what's coming back, I've got an idea, but a little bit more with this early signing period, which has been absolutely crazy. I hadn't had a chance to do anything but drink a lot of Red Bull and try to stay on the run as much as I can. But that's something that we'll come back in on maybe definitely on Sunday night and Monday and really get into our roster deep.
How many Red Bulls a day, Coach?
Well, I'm rolling pretty good right now.
That's what we call a non-answer.
Yeah, we'll send you a case in the mail soon.
But I do want to ask you about that because we just got through talking about the early signing period, and it's hard to figure out from a distance what's it been like up close.
Well, it's at the time I think everybody thought it was a good idea, but what we're finding out, and especially with the coaching changes right now, is you're having to get into contact periods. They hired me on Thursday. I've basically been here 8 days. You're trying to get into people's living rooms. You're trying to get into schools with the guys that are committed to hang on to the commits, gather guys, make sure that look, give me a chance to build a relationship. You're trying to build a 2-year relationship in about 20 minutes, and that's impossible. And and you go into these schools, and a lot of these kids right now are in final exams, and so how many times these kids are being pulled out of class right here in a key time for them. It's been very difficult. I didn't see it in this scope, but it has been very challenging.
Yeah, I think we don't even know exactly yet what some of the challenges could end up being. You're bringing up a lot of them. So, Coach, I'm just curious about this, and you may not even know. Do you expect more of your class to sign early, or do you expect a lot of them, or a good portion, to wait until February?
I think what you're going to find is probably about 50-50. I think you've got some guys that have been committed to the University of Arkansas, and with the coaching change, they're still committed, but they want to build that relationship and make sure it's the right fit for them. And then you got some that we've had existing relationships with, maybe that they've got a coach that knew me from a prior relationship along the way that kind of can vouch to the type of person I am and the staff we're going to bring in. That are ready to go on Wednesday. So the way it's looking right now, I'm seeing about 50-50, and that's okay, because if you're unsure, we want to have a chance to build a relationship with you and just give us a chance through the month of January.
And, Coach, you just mentioned the staff, and I think I know how you're going to try to answer this, but how difficult is that with some of the people that you may be interested in bowl games and maybe playing in bigger games than that?
Yeah, it's been really tough, Paul, on that when you start looking at it, because they've got obligations to their other university that they're at right now, and they're in a signing period and a signing class time that they don't want to do anything to disrupt there. That's been very difficult, and so while we've got a really strong idea of what my staff is going to look like, you're not ready to announce anything and can't announce anything right now until some of these games get out of the way, and definitely until after the 20th gets here.
Coach, what would you like to make this Arkansas team look like? I know that's a broad question, but just with what you're bringing over from SMU, what do you think is realistic very early there?
Well, a couple of things, and that's a great question, because one of the things that we talked about during the process of the interview, and we interviewed it several times. I got to Clemson when they were coming off a 6-7 season. And the dynamics of that program, and Coach Sweeney being a young head coach at that time, the vision that he had in place for that program, the dynamics of both of those programs, this program and Clemson, are very similar. Arkansas looks very similar to what Clemson looked like some 7 years ago. And so, with the vision and the values that we're going to put in place, and the recruiting and our networking throughout the state of Arkansas down into Texas and around our bordering states to recruit high-level players, very similar. So one of the things that I would say about this program, it is a great time. It's a great fit for me being the head coach here, and you would want to get this program back to where it's been several years ago, and winning championships, and eventually build it into a prominent week in and week out top 5, top 2 program in the country.
Coach, I know it's been crazy. We really appreciate you making a few minutes for us, and we really do hope to get to know you better in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Oh, what a pleasure. Very interesting conversation there with Coach Morrison. I have to admire him. He just shot straight. I mean, he said this was a mess.
Yeah,
this early signing
and he also said that a lot of people thought it would be a good thing, but we didn't necessarily predict some of this. A good point, too, from Coach Morris about how a lot of these high school kids are in exams right now, and time is winding down in this part of the year for them. They're about to head into holiday breaks and all that. It is. I mean, I just wonder how quickly things could be changed with it, if there were change in the future, if coaches came together and said, hey, this didn't really work. But, it also remains to be seen how many do end up signing early, and that will factor in as well.
That was earlier today. We appreciate you watching it. Very interesting, Coach. Very interesting comments from Coach Morris. So that is where we are right now. We are going to continue with your phone calls at 855-242-7285. A long way to go before we say goodnight on what has been an eventful Friday afternoon. Stick around. We welcome you back. There is a developing story that we need to report on.
I do care about developing.
And I don't know exactly what this is, but as some of you know, the breaking news from earlier today, Jim from Tuscaloosa was banned from the program. Now, you're telling me we will have a major update on this at 6:15. Is that correct? There's a developing story, and we'll update you in about 30 minutes. But at 6:15, I don't know if this is a press conference. I don't know if it's someone that is going to be making a statement, but we do know, all we know right now, that sometimes the news business is unpredictable. I have two people talk. Well, actually, I only have one ear in. I was about to say people are talking to me in both ears, but we have a lot of noise right now, and all I know is that there will be a major developing story update at 6:15. That's 6:15 Eastern time, 5:15 in the Central Time Zone, and you can work your way over.
Figure out the rest.
Yeah. Wherever you are, just use some deductive logic. A lot of updates from Jim on Twitter. One update. Well, he just said that he wouldn't. I'll try to read this. I'll clean it up because some of his stuff is just pure trash. But he said, "I would not come back to that show for any amount of money."
Fundraisers all.
No, the fundraiser was not to get Jim. Let me speak to you as a friend here. The fundraiser was not to try to get you back. Jim thought we were raising money to get him back.
Oh.
We have not raised. We have raised $678.78. That is not to get you back. That is to get you help. And I do understand that in many major, like where we work, if I had an anger management problem, I understand that the company insurance would pay for that as long as it was signed off on. But Jim doesn't work. So I don't know if maybe he's got Obamacare.
Maybe he's baseball pension.
You think Jim signed up for Obamacare? That would be funny. His pension maybe with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Didn't he play for the Red Sox?
Yeah.
Maybe his PGA Tour pension.
Maybe it's pro boxing.
Pro billiards.
And billiards.
He was a pro billiards player.
Oh, good.
So I don't know, but I do know we'll have an update. And I do know we'll have an update. I usually handle breaking news better, but this one's hard to do with a straight face. I'll never make it at CNN. Wolf Blitzer here. Barry is up next. Barry, go right ahead.
Hi, Paul. Such an honor to get in.
Thank you.
Been reading your articles. I live in Tuscaloosa, listening to you locally on the radio.
Thank you very much.
TV, watching you on the local stations, yada, yada. But I really didn't call to talk about sports.
Good.
I called to thank you. In Alabama, taken away from us this week. And I know you didn't want politics, but thank you so much for banning.
What a week in Alabama with all the political news and now the gym news. Hate to tell the guys that ran for the Senate, but this is actually bigger news.
I didn't think I could be any happier. But
I keep reading all these national columns, like the New York Times. They thank you, Alabama. Are they thanking us for banning Jim? Or are they saying okay?
Well, they will be. They will be. That's coming. That's going to be the next New York Times headline. At least for the sports section, or maybe beyond sports, because he doesn't really talk a lot of sports when he calls in. He
doesn't talk ball anymore because he's only interested in politics.
And I'm not sure. I'm an Alabama fan, but I'm not sure that he is. I'm not really sure what he is. I know he likes to talk about himself and how he's made your show.
His major topic, for those of you who don't really understand this, is that the show used to be good. And he was saving the show, and now that he's gone, the show will go right back to where it was, and just nowhere. And
I'm wondering where Laura is right now. And
well,
is she in the studio?
Let me hold on. Do you know where Laura is right now?
I do not.
Okay. We have put out a search party for Laura Rutledge, and we are. If anyone has seen Laura, please tweet us. or call us, or because we really she picked a bad day to leave us.
She really did.
What's that song? You picked a bad time to leave me, Lucille. That's a Kenny Rogers song, right? Yeah, it was. You picked the bad. Laura, I mean, I really, we love you, Laura, but this was not a day to abandon us. I mean, I saw you earlier. It's interesting. Since the gym call, we have not seen Laura.
She went underground.
She's with the Velvet Underground. Is that what you said?
Well, it could be.
We are. Are you telling me? Well, there's an update at 6:15. Just wherever you are, we will have an update on the gym matter. Until then, we'll get back to Wolf Flitzer here in the CNN newsroom. We will return you now to
your regularly scheduled program.
Anthony Bourdain going to Vietnam. It was. I saw it. Dwayne is in Oklahoma. Man, this is just too much fun. Dwayne is in Oklahoma City. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. Man, I can tell you how good your show's doing. I used to get in 3 times a week last year, man. Now I can't get in at all. I mean, I just feel privileged.
Well, I don't know how you can say that, because according to you-know-who, this show is done. Nobody listens anymore.
Who is, and you know
nobody
how
calls.
he is. But if we could go back to talking a little bit of football, man, I would like to see what your take would be on the Alabama-Clemson game.
Yeah, right now my early lean, this is a pre-Christmas lean, is toward Alabama. Anyone surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But what about Georgia? What do you think about Georgia?
Right now, I've got Alabama against the Patriots, so don't be dissuaded by that.
What about Georgia? What do you think about them? How are they going to handle Oklahoma?
I'm still chewing on that, but I think I like Georgia in that game. Anyway, we will have an update on the gym matter shortly. Paul Finebaum here. In the South, we love football and Crystal. The hot off the grill Crystal Burger is the perfect complement to any tailgate. Take a steamer pack of 24 Crystals to your tailgate. Why didn't I think of that? Plus, Crystal knows you love wings. Barbecue or buffalo wings, Crystal is the stop for all of your cravings this fall. Text Paul, that is P-A-U-L, to 37793, and Crystal will hook you up with 2 free Crystals. Nobody does football like the South, and nobody does tailgates like Crystal. We are back, and welcome to the program. So glad you are with us. Another hour of what has been an eventful week. We have a major update coming at 6:15 Eastern Time. That is 15 minutes from now. Right now, let's get back to the calls, and a major update on Jim from Tuscaloosa, I should say. Larry, what do you got?
Wow, brother, what a day, man. That Jim is banned. Whoa. You know what, Paul? That's I put it on Facebook. My God, the comments, man, they are piling on, bro. I didn't know he was so disliked. I put it on Facebook, and then I pushed comment to see how many people already commented. It's about 15, and they ain't using real nice language either. But I'm gonna say something, brother. So he's gone. Boom. But Big Ten, John. You know, you made an effort, brother. A for effort, and you did the thing with that, whatever it is. But it's supposed to be a shield. You don't see eyes, and you're supposed to talk like growly, you know. I mean, you should say, like, I am your father. You know, stuff like that. I guess Mark would be like, you're my redheaded stepchild. Why can't you do something and do it more correctly? I guess because you got that Big Ten in you. You always want to halfway do it like your football team. You know? Where you at? Talk to me, boy.
Larry, you do realize that I haven't been Darth Vader all day. I've been Kylo Ren.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know
This
that.
is the new school.
I didn't know it.
Breaking news.
Can you still do one of that? Can you still do that? Can you do that?
Larry,
you just do it anyway.
Larry thinks you're playing Ric Flair.
No. No, do that. I am your father.
Here it comes.
All right.
Okay, here we go, Larry. You ready?
Ready.
Larry, I am your father.
Oh, Daddy. Could I borrow some money, Daddy?
Larry, I got to tell you, you turned that into a really weird segment.
Really? Imagine that. Larry doing that, dude.
Hey, Dad, I got a date. Can I borrow the Starship?
Yeah. Whoop, there it goes. Yeah, I like to see your date. I imagine. She probably one of them with the 3 eyeballs, and 3, what other things? You there?
What other things, Larry?
Yeah, you probably like that.
Paul, how many times has that Larry asked you this week if you're still there? I mean, I feel like every call you've made. Man. Yeah, but we are, Larry. We are here. We're not going anywhere.
That's something I wish I could better.
You there?
Better get through your head, Larry.
Yeah, are you there?
We're not on bad cell phones. We're not on.
Right.
We're not. We're not in real town using the payphone.
Right.
I mean, we actually we didn't pay for it, but the equipment here is really good.
Yeah.
You go, Paul. Real time on a payphone. How about my big buddy there, Roll Tide Jack? Hey, big man, what's up?
Yeah, Larry, I think this is where I would put the phone down and just pop the top.
Can I just say Roll Tide? I know I'm getting the click.
Yeah.
Oh, he's putting his little mask on. Look at him. Oh, my God.
Okay, Larry, you've had enough. Well, actually, you probably haven't, but...
No, you just got started.
Cletus is up next in Florida. Hello, Cletus. Good afternoon.
Navarre, Florida, Paul.
Hey, big man.
Paul, I've been with you for 20 years.
He never learns my name. I love it.
And Paul, I've been with you for 20 years. I waited for this moment for 20 years, Paul, and you did it. Paul, I can see the joy in your face, the guys behind the mic. Everybody's happy today, Paul. This is like landing on the moon when we did that. This
One
is like
small
when the
step
wall,
for man.
When the wall
one giant
fell
leap for
and
all of our
communism
callers.
was defeated. And this is the third thing that I will remember for the rest of my life.
So you're saying this is the moon landing, the Berlin Wall coming down.
Paul, you have no idea how many people you affect every day. And Jim is one of the nastiest people I've ever heard in my life. He's a fraud. And, Paul, it took 20 years, but I feel like with your climbing the ladder, and I heard you the first day on the radio in Montgomery, Alabama, and that was a rough day, Paul. Do you remember that day?
I do remember
People
that,
were calling in and complaining, and you just said, let's give it some time. And we rolled with you. We rolled through Shane and Bobby and Don from downtown and B.O.B. and Mildred. And Jim was the person that was holding you back. Paul, you might be the president of the United States if you'd have got rid of him 20 years ago.
Yeah, think about that for a second.
But, Paul, it's nothing but the sky's the limit. I mean, we're going to freaking Mars now, Paul. And you might have just escalated that. Man might be living on Mars in a year now instead of 20 years. So I just want everybody to remember this day. And, Paul, I celebrate you, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have made my day. Wow. You really think I could have been president without Jim? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's always a little. I mean, I like walking in a room and hearing pomp and circumstance and hail to the chief. I like waving, getting on the helicopter, but I don't know if I want to deal with Putin, Netanyahu. I mean, I don't know. North Korea, the Rocket Man. I mean, I mean, this is a good job. I mean, it's not. I don't get a free house with it.
Nobody gets hurt.
But I can sleep at night without interruption. Now that I've changed my home number and Jim doesn't know it anymore. Jimmy is up next in Chicago. Jimmy, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you much. Well, I think it goes without saying that this news conference must be required to have at least one member of the Ted Williams estate.
Now, is that what do they call it when they put him? What's the phrase that they use when they froze him? Cryogenics.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they even knew now, but I will want to warn the Paul Finebaum audience that when we've had previous bans, such as with Tammy, on more than one occasion, that the over-under time limit on that has seldom been more than 2 hours. I don't want you to put any tricks into this announcement or anything.
Well, no, and by the way, the announcement coming up here in a minute, in about 5 minutes. I don't know exactly what is going to happen. I've now been told who the person is that will be making a statement, but should I go ahead and reveal it? Okay, no. But it will be a significant statement.
And I have no doubt it will be earth-shattering.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's just somebody that someone who has been in a similar position that I have is going to chime in. I don't know what the person will say. I will not reveal her gender.
Will the length of the ban be mentioned, or is that still up for discussion?
When someone is banned, I mean, you often hear, Jimmy, indefinite. You know what indefinite suspension means. That means until the game. Yeah. This is a ban. I mean, there is a procedure that you have to go through to overturn a ban. I'll go ahead and make this up as I go along. Basically, the precedent would be Tammy and Phyllis. You have to file a petition. We will hear the case, and then we will have a public trial. In both Tammy's case and in Phyllis's case, we had. I think the U.S. Senator now from Alabama was one of the attorneys at one of our hearings. By the way, I'm pretty sure of that. The new U.S. Senator, I should say. I mean, since Jim has never been seen in public, there's virtually no way that we have to have the trial here. Or we could move it to a different venue, but unless he agrees to it, then there's no overturning of the ban.
Yeah, I could tell a couple of days ago after the Tuscaloosa Country Club scam was revealed.
I hate it for him that it ended so badly.
Yeah, you could tell you had just about had it with him. He was like, the guy behind the curtain with the Wizard of Oz and Higgins with Magnum P.I. way back in the day. Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah.
You just assumed that it was Higgins probably at the end of the day.
Right.
Was the guy that was running the whole thing from the very beginning. So, let me just tell you, an entire nation of sports talk radio is anxiously waiting, and I guess with no further ado, we are waiting to find out how this is going to unfold.
Thank you very much. Coach B in Little Rock is up next. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. How are you today, sir? Appreciate you taking my call. Hey, I just wanted you to know that Jim being banned is the best news that I've heard since Jeff Long and Brett Milliman left the Hill. I couldn't pass that up. Have you heard anything at all about Coach Morse's possible DC?
No, and when we talked to him today, as you may have heard, I mean, I wanted to ask him about Venables, but I just didn't think that was appropriate since there's no way he could answer it.
Right, because he's still playing. I have heard the rumor too that Phil Bennett, who you may know, used to be at K-State
really
and the first one place. Excellent defensive coach. I've heard that he is possibly in the mix, and I just wanted to know if you had any background or anything.
I mean, I know Phil. He's been a coach at a lot of places. Hey, I don't, but I'll check on that. Coach, thank you very much. We are up against a break. We are going to come back. Are we still on for
the break?
You know who?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't reveal who will be here, but you've seen her. I mean, you've seen the person before on the show. We'll be right back.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
There is some, I don't know if I hear the music or not, but there is breaking news. Again, let me repeat this to our audience. A couple of hours ago, there was an incident on the show that Jim from Tuscaloosa called in and called me an evil bee. And then Twice. And then the powers that be decided that he should be banned, and I really had no objection to it. I didn't really get in the way, and that's exactly what happened. So he has been banned. We tried to raise a little money. We got up to $678.78. That wasn't to bring him back. I think he misinterpreted that. But that was to get him a little help. Anyway, developing story here. Breaking news: Jim from Tuscaloosa banned, and we have been the first network to be able to reach out to Laura Rutledge. We have been able to track her down. So we welcome Laura Rutledge to our program for her first public comments on this simply epic event. Laura, thanks very much for joining us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. And yeah, I mean, truly historic day here. I tell you what, I heard when the news was broken, I immediately got a call from our bosses. They instructed me to hop on a plane, fly to Tuscaloosa. I am here now in Tuscaloosa reporting live on Jim and his suspension and his banning. There's been a little bit of discrepancy from his camp on whether or not it's a suspension or a banning. I have informed him that he has been banned, and that led to me being kidnapped and taken to the Tuscaloosa Country Club, where I am currently trying to escape. If anyone wants to come here and help me out, I have laid eyes on Jim. He doesn't look like what I expected, and we're all just trying to figure out where to go from here. But, Paul, I tell you what, I will never forget this day for the main reason of the fact that I have learned that the Tuscaloosa Country Club still has a few tables in here, although there are lots of cobwebs at this establishment here. Yeah,
and Laura, I am sorry about the kidnapping. I really am, but we have lawyers and security. We'll work on that as soon as we get you off the air. But the genesis of this is that somebody published a picture of Jim, and that's how he called in and was very upset, and then the whole diatribe started. So, are you currently at? I'm not much even doing breaking news, so I apologize for all the stumbling around. But are you currently at the site of the country club?
I'm at the site, and I've been able to get myself into a separate room because I was trying to escape, but the people from Ted Williams' camp are here as well, and they're doing everything they can to rectify the
cryogenics people,
situation.
You mean, or the Red Sox?
They're the Red Sox,
okay.
and there's a Ted Williams fund that's been put in place for Jim because of the legacy of Ted Williams that he so valiantly carries on in his life. And so the Red Sox are willing to make at least an effort here financially to get him back in the mix here. But, as inquiring minds are wondering, how long will this ban last? And what I found from my reporting here on the ground and just in polling a few people close to the situation, Paul, people think that this ban is going to be very serious and that it will last for quite some time, although there are a few that will remain nameless that are already starting a petition. I wonder what our callers, truly will think about that and what way they will look at that petition. But yeah, the Ted Williams people. I see Jim's coming my way, guys. I might have to call you back. I'm going to try to run away though, Paul. Just in case he might come over here, but I'm not sure.
Well, Laura, what's so interesting is, you're just such a great reporter, but I have to ask you as the co-host of the show to put that hat on for a second. I know I'm confusing and blurring the lines here between reporting and opinion, but what do you think should happen? Because I was blindsided by the evil bee line today, and
well, Paul, I was blindsided too because usually Jim is more creative with his name calling. Do you remember the time where he called me Bimby because he said that was short for bimbo, even though Bimby and bimbo are the same amount of letters in a word? And so I really thought, and some of the things that he's called Daniel Bramlett today on the show are really shocking. But yeah, Evil B was not where I thought he would go with you, and that's really what truly got me. But what I think we've seen today is just the overwhelming support of this band. I mean, in previous bands, Paul, has the support been this strong?
Yeah, one thing that I didn't realize, and Danny Crammy Brams, whatever his name is in the other room, said this, but he said that Jim apparently has confiscated a couple of fake accounts, and those are the only support that he's getting. And we're monitoring it right now, our social media team, which includes Randy.
Yeah, we have a social media team.
Well,
can they come rescue me from the Tuscaloosa Country Club?
I have called. I tried to call the Alabama football complex, but nobody answered the phone.
They're too busy with early signing day.
Yeah, exactly. So, Laura, I mean, I hate to ask you to try to fend for, even though I know you can, to fend for yourself for the time being while we try to get some help over there. But
there were some leftover pizza crusts from the pizza party that happened here the other day. So,
well, I know you're nowhere near Twitter, but you've already been attacked by Jim, so I just want you to know that.
Oh no, well, that's just on the day's work, though. It wouldn't be a normal day if I didn't get something from Jim telling me, how wonderful I am, a.k.a. attacking me. But I tell you what, I mean, this is truly groundbreaking, Paul, and I think on a day where there wasn't a lot of news.
No.
I mean, look at this. I mean, have you noticed? I mean, President Trump has tweeted about this. We've seen many famous people who are weighing in on all of this news and just what's happened on your show. And my goodness, I mean, way to just shake it up today.
Yeah, John Hayes, what did you just say? You said Saban is about to address the situation?
Nick Saban, Paul, is scheduled to address the media at 7 o'clock. We do not know if he will address this specific situation, but we will monitor what he says to the media in Tuscaloosa tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel sure, guys, he's been advised not to comment, but he just may have to say something. It's just that serious. A lot of times Coach Saban will say he's not watching and not paying attention. Guarantee you he didn't miss this.
Oh, Laura, everyone's watching right now.
As they should be.
Well, listen, I don't want to be too. I mean, you're certainly a big girl, but I am concerned. Randy and I are both concerned about your safety.
Yeah. By the way, I'm good. I'm putting my feet up here. I do stand by my pledge. I was the mystery pledge. I know a lot of people were concerned about who that was. Mystery pledge of $200 in the support of Jim. Getting some help.
Okay, let me make sure, because there were some sirens. So you just acknowledged that you were the mystery donor?
I'm the mystery donor, pledging $200 for the support of helping Jim. And because truly that's what we're about. Paul, we're a family. We want to help everybody. And I'm going to give $200. And frankly, I mean, let's be real. I make the least amount of money of anybody on that show. So my $200 really goes a long way. That's hard for me to. But I'm going to do it.
By the way, there is, and I will keep silent on this, but there's a person in the other room who actually is taking exception to what you just said. What you said.
Oh well, is that Daniel Bramlett who's paying 78 cents?
It was actually Hayes.
Well, Hayes is sitting on a big fat stack of cash. So I don't. That's what happens when you're a Big Ten guy.
Yeah, but the good news is after all of this, we may all get raises, so that may change.
We're all going to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show tomorrow.
We are, we will. Yeah. We will. Well, Laura,
I've already committed.
Are you? You are safe, okay? I mean, I don't.
I've done a few live reports coming up on CNN and Fox and NBC and CBS. So just everybody tune in. I'm going to be reporting live on this situation with much more to come, many more details coming your way.
As they say on Thursday night, Laura Rutledge down on the field. Laura, please let us know your location. Your mom actually just texted me. Make sure you're okay. But I shouldn't have said that. Thank you.
My mom has your number? What?
Well, yeah, we exchanged numbers while you were hosting SEC Nation a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, thanks for telling me. Wow. What else are you doing behind my back anyway?
I'll tell you some other time. But, quite a bit, actually. So, Laura Rutledge, live report. Laura, we will talk to you very soon. And again, be safe. Be careful.
Sounds good, guys. Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
That was such a great report by Laura. Unfortunately, I feel badly for her from this regard now that she's taking some of the shrapnel from Jim. But she knew that anyway going in, and she made it clear she had also offered $200. I tried to protect her. She's a fighter. We'll be back. 30 minutes to go. Unless can we extend the show to later, or is there anything on after us?
Nothing.
Okay. More on the Jim crisis. We are back, and better than ever. Glad you're with us here on a Friday afternoon.
That's scary.
Barry is up next in Georgia. Hello, Barry. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. I've got one thing to say about Jim, and I do have a question for you.
Of course.
I've been really successful this year, and being the spirit of Christmas, I'll kick in at 22 cents to make it an even number to the 72 cents your guy donated.
Yeah, right now the money is pouring in so much we don't even know what to do with it.
Are you going to have the Monsignor on again this year?
Yeah, actually, I think we are. Archbishop Marino, we hope to have him on next Friday. I have not told him that yet.
I hope so. I look forward to that every year. He's such a man of peace. He just comes through on the TV screen. And,
I talked to him a week or two ago. He had just, for those who don't know what we're talking about, a very close friend of mine, Archbishop Joseph Marino, is the English word is he's the Pope's ambassador. I think the actual phrase is papal nuncio. He's in Kuala Lumpur. I talked to him not long ago. He had just gotten back after I think it was a 36-hour flight, including layovers, but still.
Well, that's a great part of the.
But he's with us. He's usually with us every Christmas, and I'm hoping that he is with us next week.
All right. Well, I'm writing you a check now for 22 cents, and I'll mail it to you right away.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Sometimes I wish we could show you the Twitter war that is going on right now between. It's just so entertaining. Let's continue with more phone calls. And Billy is up next. How are you, Billy?
Hey.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, we're here.
I think your show is probably one of the funniest shows, and it's not really funny. Sometimes we learn stuff. But what I want to ask you, I've got a couple of questions. And one of them is about Les Miles, and another one is about the guy from Texas A&M that left. Kevin Sumlin. Okay, where are they going? And I know Les Miles is out of this picture, and then we got, we got the guy that's going to Tennessee. So where are we going with this?
It's interesting. Les Miles has said that he has not heard from anyone. I mean, there was a rumor out there that Fulmer had called him, but apparently not. And
well, he couldn't get hired at Purdue.
No, I think listen. I've said this, and I don't mean to be mean about it because I really do like Les, and we communicate from time to time and text and talk. But sometimes when you leave the industry, you're done. I mean, it's a simple fact, and it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. Kevin Sumlin, I think, was in the UCF situation. I think he may have wanted more than they were willing to offer. He will definitely get a job. I frankly think Arizona State made a mistake not hiring Kevin Sumlin, and I say that even though I'm friends with Herm Edwards, but I don't like the look of that hire.
Well, I actually, and kind of going back, I actually think Kevin Sumlin is a very good man and a very good coach. So, you can go with that. But I have another thing to say after you comment on that.
Well, I agree totally. I think someone was just a victim of his early success with Johnny Manziel, and he rubbed some people the wrong way. I think that had a lot more to do with it. I mean, his record his record the last 3 years, I think, is equal to what Jimbo Fisher's was.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, now the other thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to leave this alone. I went to the Decatur Country Club today, and I played golf.
In Decatur?
In Decatur, Alabama.
Sure, been there. Nice town.
Yeah. There's not a golf club in Decatur, Alabama. At the country club.
I didn't know that, but I assumed you were. First of all, it's. I keep up with the weather in Alabama because it seems like it might have been kind of cold to play golf today.
Well, there's not a golf club.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't. See, I would not have played because of the weather. You didn't play because there isn't a club there.
There is no club there. Plus, they wouldn't. They wouldn't let me in there anyway.
I thought there was something funny because I got an email today from the chairman of the member committee at the Tuscaloosa Country Club inviting the two of us to join.
Oh boy!
And since there's no club anymore, I've always wanted to be a member of the Tuscaloosa Country Club. They even offered that. What got me was they offered the first year for free.
Oh, nice.
Well, Paul, but let me say one more thing. Your staff and Laura, y'all do a great job. So just
thank you. I think what you and most people that watch the show, but what you heard there from Laura is really what makes her the best. It's her ability. It's the wry sense of humor that I think sometimes people miss because she does a lot of very straight reporting and hosting, but she is downright hilarious, which makes her even more fun on this show. Let's continue with more calls, and I mean there's some Friday nights. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're happy to get out of here.
Sure.
This is one Friday night. I hate to leave. Yeah. I mean I'm going to go home and go. My wife's going to go, well, aren't you happy the weekends? Or am I going, I really would have liked to have done a few more hours of this show. Colton is up next. Good afternoon. Colton, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, good. Welcome to our show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jim getting banned was kind of I think it was a little out of hand for just what he did. I think he should have been suspended.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just have to, what you don't know, Colton. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all here, okay? I never like guys that say I know something you don't, but you don't know what his file looks like.
Oh, I imagine. You don't know that. You don't know he's got a file.
Yeah,
but I think he's got good points on stuff like all these boring callers calling in all the time.
You just don't know how high that stack was of complaints where. It merited just an outright ban.
I know, but think of all the times we always talking about him, though. Every time he's on the show, I mean, it seems like the whole day is just about him.
Well, that won't be happening anymore.
Yeah, it won't be happening anymore, but he'll be on the Twitter all the time talking. He'll be running his mouth.
No, not Jim. Jim's going to move on. The Jim I know is going to take this as a teaching moment.
Yeah,
the Jim that I know is going to look at this and go, you know what? I think that's going to make me a better person. I'm going to take a good look at myself in the mirror. I'm going to see that maybe I shouldn't have said those ugly things about me. Maybe I shouldn't have said those ugly things about Laura, about John Hayes, about Danny Cram Dullard Bramlett. And I think he's going to come clean. Yeah. It's going to be a cleansing experience, a cathartic experience. And I think Jim is going to send us a note and say, listen, I'm sorry. I'd like to come on the show and apologize to all the people that I've hurt.
And show my face.
And show my face in public for the first time. That's the Jim. I know this sounds like a Joel Osteen sermon.
Amen.
But that's the Jim that I'm hoping comes out of that. And if that's the Jim that we hear from, he will be welcomed back to our congregation.
Hallelujah.
We will come back with the remaining moments of this revival. Welcome back. A few more minutes to go here. We are running short on time. And what about Joe? Joe, what about it, man?
Hey, Paul, how you doing this afternoon?
Oh, we are doing great.
Well, I'm doing good. the one game I do want to mention tomorrow, I'm hoping Troy beats North Texas. That's my pick, of course. I've done tweeted it out. But Paul, the camp, you was talking about a while ago, you don't know what to do with this money. I know where it can go, to my campaign fund for the college football party. And I'm going to officially ask right now, I want Laura Rutledge to be my vice president. And I know she's listening. She don't have to answer now. I wanted to think about it over the weekend. But what a party it would be, Paul. I mean, think about it.
It would be a great party. You're absolutely right, Joe. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. Hey, thanks so much. Let's go to Andrew next. Let's try to actually get serious here before we go off the air. Andrew. Andrew is in Arkansas. How are you, Andrew?
How you doing, Paul?
We're doing great.
Good. Hey, I have a question about the Razorbacks. Do you think Chad Morris might be able to turn our program around, and if so, if he might have a 7-5 season next year?
Today's the first time I've ever spoken to him, and I was very impressed with him. Again, I don't want to overdo it, just talking to somebody through a television screen, but I do think he's very capable. He has experience, and I think if he can get that fan base beating to the same heartbeat, so to speak, I think he can find the right players. It won't be easy, though.
Yeah, I understand he went in telling the players that they look, like Clemson did when he first got there, and
right.
They want everybody to get their hopes up, but maybe he might be able to turn it around a little bit, open it up at least.
I think he will. Listen, that program is at such a rock bottom. And I'm pained by it because I loved Brett Bielema. I really did. I'm sorry he didn't make it, but I think the change was necessary, and I think the staff is critical, especially the defensive coordinator. And when we talked to him today, I mean, he wasn't really in much of a position to talk about that because he's obviously eyeing someone who has another job right now. Let's move along. Alex is up next in California. Alex, thanks. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
We are doing very well. Thank you.
Very funny show today. Got a question. What is your take on Jim Harbaugh? Do you see him maybe one more year with Michigan? I'm a big fan of his. He was I'm a Niner fan, so I was pretty upset they let him go.
I think Jim Harbaugh is really down to a maybe his final year in terms of trying to get this thing righted because maybe Shea Patterson's the answer. He just hasn't had a quarterback, as you know.
Yeah.
And I've always maintained that year 4, if he's still swinging for the fences, 0-4 against Urban Meyer, third in the division, then I think he's going. I thought again, it's not over yet for this year. The NFL firings are about to start.
Oh, so you think he might go NFL?
I think somebody will call him now.
Wow.
I can't guarantee you that he will leave. But I think it will be tempting. I think he'll stay one more year, but I'm more thinking after next year.
Wow. And then one more quick question. What do you think about Chip Kelly at UCLA?
I think it's an incredible hire. Chip Kelly was the best coach out there, and UCLA was extremely smart to be able to get him to take the job. Wow. It's a good thing they did because, frankly, Oregon might have gone after him had the calendar been a little bit different. Well, sure they would have gone after him.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call. Thank you very much.
Nice of you to call. What a memorable show this has been, and we are plumb out of time. If you missed anything tonight, you pretty much missed the whole show. The ESPN app and the Apple Podcast are the best ways to get a hold of it.